Welcome to Thapar Institute of Engineering and Technology, Patiala presents News18 Punjab, Haryana Education Summit Season 4, co-powered by Reliance Industries Limited, Associate Partner World Immigration Network and Baba Freed Group of Institutions, Bathinda, supported by CT University, Ludhiana and GNA University, Phagwada. Digital Learning Partner TCY Online, Travel Partner Travel Tip, Overseas Partner ESS Global. Today we have gathered here to discuss the future of education in a fast-changing world. Since artificial intelligence is in talks, or rather in use already, its impact on education, on jobs, on all the other sectors needs to be discussed. How will the education change? How will teaching change in such a fast-changing world is a question we all are wondering. So with that, let us begin the discussions. But before that, let us have a look at the purpose of the summit through an audio-visual.
Welcome to the Education Summit Season 4, where we gather to revolutionize education through the latest technological advancements, including the power of AI. This summit is a hub of innovation, a place where we explore the potential of artificial intelligence, augmented reality, virtual reality, and blockchain in education. At this transformative summit, we ignite the spark of curiosity and reimagine the classroom experience, leveraging AI to empower students and educators alike. Together, we redefine the boundaries of education, integrating Internet of Things, machine learning, and gamification into the classroom, powered by AI technology. Innovate, educate, elevate. Join us at the Education Summit Season 4, where we embark on a journey to shape the minds of tomorrow, revolutionizing education through AI.
In this transformational summit, we will also have with us a special anchor today who will be posing questions to our esteemed guests, our AI anchor, Kaur.
ਸਾਰੇ ਮਹਿਮਾਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ। ਮੇਰੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਯਾਨੀ AI ਬਾਰੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਵਾਲ ਨੇ, ਉਮੀਦ ਹੈ आज ਸਾਰੇ ਜਵਾਬ ਮਿਲ ਜਾਣਗੇ।
Let us now move on to the keynote address. Our keynote speaker for this event is Dr. Ajay Batish, Deputy Director, Thapar Institute of Engineering and Technology. I'd now like to call Dr. Batish to the podium and deliver the keynote address. Dr. Batish is a professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering. He holds a PhD in engineering and has over 100 referred journal articles. With an experience of over 33 years, he is with TIET since 1999. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so glad to see Thapar Institute presenting this education summit. Although the focus of today's program is on AI, but I being a mechanical engineer, I told the organizers that I really know nothing much about it, so I won't speak on that. I will leave it to the experts to talk about it. I will focus broadly more on outcome-based education and our experience at Thapar Institute of implementing it. See, in 2015, we set up a Center of Academic Practices and Student Learning. The key thing in this CAPSL is student learning. What had happened all these years, last many decades, is that teaching has always been teacher focused, while we are trying to make this change and move towards student focus. The key thing is about student learning, not about teaching, right? That's the focus, and that's what we have been trying to do in the last, I would say, 9 or 10 years. I will use a metaphor which one of our, former NBA chairman who was with us a little while, maybe a couple of months ago, and he said, मुझे क्या पढ़ाना है important नहीं है, क्या important है मुझे क्या student को बनाना है. And that's where student learning is so important. If you go to an architect, give him and tell him that I've got a 300 square yard plot of land, and tell him to build a house for you. You have all the money, everything. He's a great architect, everything is great. Do you think he can build it? No, he cannot. He will need specifications. He will need your requirements. He will need to know what do you need in this house, right? You will say, okay, what is the cost? He will tell you, you will need so much of metric tons of cement, so much of building material, everything that you need to build a house. And if you bring all that and dump it in the plot, do you think you can build a house? Still not, right? This is what we do with our curriculum. We say, I've given you 4 courses in science, 4 courses in mathematics, 15 courses in your specialization, 4 courses in humanities. I made a top-class engineer or a top-class student. Do you think it works that way? No, because what is missing in this is interconnectivity. If you give a child some building blocks and ask him to solve a puzzle or make a puzzle out of it, do you think a little child can do it? He has all the, the building blocks. He will need to understand the interconnections of all the building blocks. In teaching, what has been missing in many of our institutions is this interconnectivity. We teach them in isolated way, one course not connecting to the other, and then how will the outcomes of a particular student be met if we have not taught them in a particular way? We have been, the older the institution, the bigger the problem is. Now what happens in many cases, if it's an old institution, you have very, very senior professors, and what will they tell you? They said this topic, this subject is the most important, you can't remove it. So, although you will keep claiming that our curriculum revision takes place so quickly, so frequently, in reality, nothing changes besides a little cosmetic change here and there. I read in a case study that in 1950s, the knowledge used to double in 25 years. The rate of change of knowledge used to be 25 years. What is it today? Today it is possibly 25 days. Are we modifying, changing our curriculum with these changes? If I studied something 40 years ago, do you think I can use the same rate of change today, what I studied 40 years ago? That's something that we need to do. That's something, I can take an example from nature. Think about a snake. It sheds its skin every year, right? That's nature's way of innovation. What do? I remember 20 years ago, we used to say we change our scheme every 4 years, right? And that too used to be a little cosmetic, as I just mentioned, right? So now the time has come that you cannot wait that long. You have to shed your skin. You have to shed the obsolete courses. You have to shed this extra weight. The student has a limited time. He just has that much period to finish his program. And if we don't give him what he needs, he will graduate with limited outcomes and will not be able to meet the requirements of a job market. I also remember an example of a student who took a physics course. This student, when he went to the class to write an exam, he was given a question that you need to measure the height of a very tall building with the help of a barometer. This was the question. The student wrote that I will go climb up the top of the building, I will tie the barometer to a rope, then I will drop the barometer slowly from the top of the building. When the barometer comes and touches the ground, I'll measure the length of the rope, and that's equal to the height of the building. Is that a correct answer or a wrong answer? It's a correct answer, perfectly okay answer. But the teacher said, no, you did not use the physics principle. I told you to use the barometer. He said, I did use the barometer. I had tied the barometer to the rope. Now, a dispute. The student challenged the assessment. He said, you can't give me a 0 because I gave you the right answer. And the matter went to the vice chancellor, director, whoever the administrators. Administrator heard about it. Now he also could not say anything because it was the right answer. But he also could not dispute with the teacher because he wanted a different kind of answer. Right? So what do you do in such situations? Form a committee or call an expert. And they called an expert. This expert came and talked to the student. He found out that the student has very different ideas. Right? He doesn't think in a traditional way, like every other student or most other students. He said, okay, we will do a retest tomorrow. The student came in the next day, he was given the answer script and he was given a retest. And they said, finish this in 30 minutes, the same question. 25 minutes passed away. The student didn't write a single word on the answer script. This expert now, clearly, visibly upset, goes to the student and asks him, do you not know the answer? The student says, oh, well, I know 6 or 7 answers, but I do not know which answer you want. He said, what do you mean by it? He said, tell me, let's discuss it. The expert realized that this student is up to something. So, let me find out what kind of answers he has got. He said, tell me your answers. He said, I will pick up the barometer in my hand. I will go step by step, measure the height of each step, that's the height of the building. He said, are you funny? Are you making fun of me? He said, no, sir, this is not a funny answer. The funny answer would be that I'll take the barometer to the chief engineer of the building, gift him the barometer and say, give it to your daughter, and then ask him, look at your logbook and tell me the height of the building. He said, that's a funny answer, even that is right. He said, but this is a physics exam. I am asking you to give me a physics answer. He said, okay, you want a physics answer? I'll go to the top of the building, I'll drop the barometer from the top, measure the time taken by it to reach the ground with the help of a stopwatch, and use your physics equation of S is equal to ut plus half at square and tell you the height of the building. And if that also doesn't meet your expectations, then on a sunny day, I will keep the barometer on the side of the building and then measure the length of the shadows, 2 shadows it produces, and then by ratio proportion, tell you what is the height of the building. He said, well, now tell me, are these wrong answers? He said, these are not wrong answers, but there was also a way which teacher told you where P is equal to rho GH something, some pressure formula. Why did you not use that? He said, sir, for last 10 years, this teacher has been giving the same exam in the question. 60 students in the class write the same 10-line answer, get full marks. I wanted to check whether there are other answers to it. And as you can visibly see, there are many other answers to it. What we need to appreciate today is that the students have many alternative ways to get to the same outcome. And we need to appreciate it. The teacher is not supposed to act like a sage on the stage and he thinks that he is the repository of all the knowledge in the world and there's nothing else beyond it. A creative student will find multiple ways to solve the same question, right? And it is our duty to ensure that students is not only encouraged to take those alternative paths and also guide him on the way. This is a perfect example of an outcome-based education, right? So an outcome has to be achieved, whether you, now, if you have to climb a Mount Everest, whether you go from Nepal or you go from Tibet or you go from China or you go from Bhutan, it doesn't matter as long as you reach the top of the Mount Everest, that is fine, the outcome is achieved, right? What we curtail when we are teaching our students in the universities is, we think there is only one perfect answer, right? And that's what is killing the creativity and innovation among us, the students. I will also like to talk about a little bit about multidisciplinary education. All of us teachers think that if I introduce some higher level courses into the scheme, my quality of the education becomes great. A refrigeration engineer may not be a top-class mechanical engineer. An excellent mechanical engineer may not be a good engineer. An excellent engineer may not be a good scientist. An excellent scientist may not be a good human being. Right? So, we have to design our curriculum, say mechanical engineering in this case, for example, I'm taking. If all of us decide that tomorrow onwards we're going to teach music to every mechanical engineering student, it doesn't make any sense. We must be able to connect that if you have to teach music to a mechanical engineering student, there must be a reason for it. Right? If there is no reason, there is no point teaching that course. If you ask a math student in your university and ask him, why are you studying differential equations? Invariably, the answer you will get is, it is part of the syllabus. Right? Is that the answer? Is that the reason you are studying differential equations? You are studying differential equations. If you are a mechanical engineer, you are studying differential equations because later on you may have to do a refrigeration engineering course where you will need to know heat and mass transfer. And to solve a heat and mass transfer problem, you need to solve partial differential equations. To solve a partial differential equation, you need to solve a total differential equation. To solve a total differential equation, you must know integral calculus. To solve integral calculus, you must know basic mathematics. This is the thread which connects all the courses: maths, differential equations, partial differential equations, heat and mass transfer, the refrigeration. This is a thread which is connecting these courses. If we don't explain this to the students, they are lost. Right? I will also want to talk a little bit about assessment. Many times, many of us, we are all teachers, write a question saying, find the square root of 5. Oh, we don't stop there. We also say, find it on this is a numerical methods course, find a root of 5 with a Ranga Kutta method. Why? Why can't you find root of 5 with any other method? No, that is a simpler method. I want you to learn the difficult method. Why should I learn a difficult method? Is that difficult method being designed to torture a student? Right? Why should we judge on what method the student must use? Possibly, that difficult method is very important because certain problems cannot be solved without using the difficult method. The student must be made to appreciate, and we should not sit on judgment on things of this kind that you must use a particular method to solve a question. I read in a study that a 4-year little kid asks about 73 questions in a day to her parents, to his or her parents. 73 questions. They are all small questions. Why should I eat this? Why should I not sit here? Why should I not go and play there? All different kinds of courses. And all of us teachers, right, we don't allow even that many questions in the entire program of study. That's what kills the creativity of the students. If we want exponential growth, we will need to encourage students to ask questions, right? Because if they ask questions, they will be inquisitive. It's only when they're inquisitive, they will excel in life. And for a country of our size, we are looking for exponential growth. In a normal circumstance, we will only get a linear growth, which, of course, will never be useful to a country of our size. Let's do something that we achieve these goals of exponential growth that we all want. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your opening remarks. We all know, especially nowadays, that teachers can also learn from the students, and maybe they should. I'll now request our managing editor, Jyoti Kamal, to please come on the stage and felicitate our guest. Thank you, Jyoti Kamal. We'll now move on to our first session, Harnessing the Power of Artificial Intelligence. Let us have a look at the purpose of the discussion through an audio visual.
In today's rapidly evolving world, universities are at the forefront of AI education, equipping students with the knowledge and skills to create and shape AI-driven technologies. Through specialized courses, hands-on projects, and collaboration, universities teach students the principles of AI development. Faculty members, leading experts in the field, guide students in building AI technology, covering areas such as machine learning, data analysis, and algorithm design. Ethical considerations are also emphasized, addressing societal implications and responsible AI practices. By fostering innovation and interdisciplinary collaboration, universities prepare graduates to drive AI innovation across industries. Join us in exploring how universities harness the power of artificial intelligence, teaching and building AI technology. Welcome to this session on Harnessing the Power of Artificial Intelligence, how universities teach and build AI technology.
I'd now like to invite Mr. Jyoti Kamal, Managing Editor, News18 Punjab, Haryana, to please escort the panelists on the stage. Dr. Lalit Awasthi, Director, NIT Uttarakhand. Dr. Awasthi is presently Professor and Director at NIT Uttarakhand since 9th February 2022. He comes from the field of Computer Science and Engineering. He is the main architect of the CSC Department, NIT Hamirpur. Dr. Padma Kumar Nair, Director, Thapar Institute of Engineering and Technology. Dr. Nair is Director and Dean of LM Thapar School of Management. His current interests are in the areas of leadership for sustainability and entrepreneurship, with a focus on using evolutionary psychology principles to improve human condition and organizational effectiveness. Professor Rajiv Ahuja, Director, IIT Ropar. Professor Ahuja, the Director of IIT Ropar, is a distinguished teacher. He comes from the field of computational materials. He is an elected Fellow of the Royal Society of Chemistry. Over to you, Jyoti Kamal.
Thank you, Archie. Thank you so much. Thank you, Professor Batish, for kind of getting us going. I was just listening to the voiceover that you were hearing just before this. So it was like if earlier I used to be doing those voiceovers, and it's already an AI that's doing them. If I was here, I would be pretty worried that eventually things are kind of changing. One can see that things are changing. When we speak normally, we speak at about 40 bits per second. AIs can already transmit, like machine transmission can already touch about, say, something like 2 million gigabits per second as it transfers information. So if you're talking about the kind of transmission capability that exists with machines and with AIs kind of processing that, isn't it already game over for us? Like if we really look at the kind of capabilities that exist in terms of being able to process information, the kind of transmission rates that are now becoming possible, the kind of quantum computing technology that is becoming feasible, superconductivity to provide the resources and the energy to make all of this possible. Are you seeing this as a bubble, or are you seeing that there is something tangible happening with AI? Because these days, it seems to have now become the buzzword. Everybody's talking AI, ChatGPT, GPT, and everything. So is it more of a bubble? And what really changed? Like this question that everyone asks, it's not as if AIs are something new. It's not as if AIs did not exist earlier. Something happened in the last 6 months. And like Sam Altman, the kind of CEO of OpenAI, he says that the combined impact of this AI revolution will be greater than the industrial, the IT, the agricultural revolution combined. So is this all like, is it all just a hype? Is it reality? You have been in the thick of it, all of you, because you have really seen it from up close. So when you look at it, what is it that you're sensing? If we start with you, Professor Ahuja, what do you think, what's happening with AI? Is it a bubble? Is it reality? Is it something to fear? Is it something to kind of look forward to? How do you see this?
So thank you for asking me this question. I will not say it's not a bubble, and this is going to lead the world for next 50 years. I can give you one example, actually. When we started the BTech program in AI and data engineering from this semester, some faculty told me, sir, maybe it's a bubble. We should not start this BTech program? I said, no. I will start it, and I know that this is the future. And just declaring this in the Senate, after 2 days, I got a phone or an email contact for one of the biggest foundation in US. And he said that, what you think about AI? We want to set up a school of AI and data engineering at IIT Ropar. I say it's wonderful because then he asked me, how many students you are going to start with the BTech? Because IITs are known for their BTech program. So he said that if you have a BTech program, then we will fund it. Otherwise, we will not fund it. So I say, I have a BTech program. I just, 2 weeks back, we have approved that. He asked me how many seats. I say, I just start with a 25 seat. And he asked me, why you don't want to start with 50 or 100 seats? I say, because of the infrastructure. And he said, who cares about infrastructure? We will provide you the infrastructure. So they also believe, because when this foundation, they say that they have the vision where world will be in next 50 years. So they are investing only on those technologies, and AI is one of them. So AI is not a bubble, it's a future, and it will touch all of us. And maybe even right now, AI is here. So you cannot escape now AI. Some people say it's a good AI, bad AI, but there's nothing like that. AI is there, and it's going to rule the world for next 40 to 50 years.
There's this movie that's going to come out, which is Oppenheimer. So he was like the father of the atomic bomb. It was a bomb. He was a scientist. He was given a task that you have to kind of develop a nuclear weapon. The weapon was developed. When it got unleashed, so he quoted from the Bhagavad Gita later on, because he was like terrified when he saw the power of the atomic explosion, and said that I have become the destroyer of worlds. So as engineers, as professors, as scientists, which you all are, your job is to kind of obviously teach, it is to kind of research, it is to analyze, it is to introspect, it is to think, it is to transfer. And knowledge is knowledge. Like you said, there is nothing called good AI, there's nothing called bad AI, it's AI. Yeah. Now, it is going to be amenable to use both ways. There is a professor at MIT, Max Tegmark, so he's said that there is this movie which talks about Don't Look Up, that there is an asteroid heading towards the planet, people are going on discussing. There is no action that's being kind of taken in a concrete manner. It's an extinction level event which could happen, but that action is not being taken in time to kind of do anything about it. Now, AI is something like that, because Max Tegmark is somebody who has been heavily invested in it. He says that this is also something like Don't Look Up, that we are not understanding what's coming at us. But maybe these are doomsday scenarios. Is this real? Is it like the same question that I was asking him? What is your assessment, Professor Nair? Because you have seen a lot of the world. You have kind of worked in the Netherlands. You have kind of worked in Tokyo. You have worked with different industries, from petroleum to consulting. You're in education now. So you have seen it all, and you are seeing it coming. What is your assessment?
You see, first of all, I want to go back to that question of, is it a bubble? It's definitely not a bubble. But a quick look at what happened in the last 500 years. Two major things have happened. One, world population has changed from about 500 million to almost 8 billion. Life expectancy have changed from about 35, 40 to almost 75, 80. But other than that, from an industrial, scientific, technological advancement point of view, we started with the Industrial Revolution. Industrial Revolution replaced most jobs needing power and speed. First one, steam power. Second one is electricity. Third one is automation. So electricity, automation combined replaced most jobs needing precision and repetition. So now we could produce millions of iPhones, precision, repetition. Fourth one is, I call, AI, big data, Internet of Things. That revolution is slowly replacing most jobs needing abstracting simple rules from large sets of data. So we are sitting and pondering what would happen to all those jobs today available with AI. So before answering that question, if you look at the types of AI, from a very general point of view, I'm not an expert, but for a non-expert's point of view, I can think of narrow AI. That means a specific area, artificial intelligence expertise in a specific area. Then you can talk about artificial generalized intelligence. ChatGPT is more like artificial generalized intelligence. It's also, even though it's a large language model, but it incorporates everything from our day-to-day messaging and chatting and talking. So it's kind of artificial generalized intelligence. Then the evolution could be artificial superintelligence. In certain areas, AI might at least show much more nuances and speed than human beings. And finally, at least I would argue that most interesting AI is artificial emotional intelligence. So look at, say, if I'm teaching a class of 200 students, if I have the right computer vision and understand facial expressions. Interestingly, we all make about 7,000 unique facial expressions every day. We could, on an average, make about 10,000 unique expressions. So this can actually detect what is going on. And we also know that one of the major challenges we face with the young people is, if you are very young, it is about autism, lack of focus, teenagers, probably depression and other anxiety and other related ones. I'm 61 years old, and data shows that 65 plus, at least 25% of the older people are in some way depressed. This artificial emotional intelligence can really help. One of the major schools in China used several devices to see student attention, whether they're tired, are they focusing, looking at the phone, and collecting so much data using AI and training those models. So AI is going to stay, but then the question is AI related to ethics of AI. I would say that we need to think about three things when we think about AI. One is, it is going to be an enabler. It is going to help us in this journey of achieving excellence. What is the journey of achieving excellence? Is wanting to do it better than before. As Professor was telling, started AI, big data. It's all about wanting to do it better than before. Better than before for whom? Better than before for our students and our society and for our nation and the world at large. Excellence, getting into this journey of doing better. See, with ChatGPT, I can write something better than using Grammarly, for example. Then this idea of ethics. So that's a lot more nuanced discussion. And finally, I would say that we all need to think about artificial empathetic intelligence. The empathy, those three E's are very important. Excellence and empathy and ethics. Thank you.
Very interesting. In fact, you have also been working on leadership. I'll come back to that later in this discussion. But already the kind of language that we were discussing just now seems to be kind of difficult to comprehend unless one is keeping pace with what's going on. For example, this whole thing about AI and ChatGPT. I mean, when you really kind of analyze the words GPT itself, it's a generative pre-trained transformer. And when you say a large language model, basically what the software has done is it has scanned a huge database of human language with human feedback given in the initial stages, that when this is said, this is what it means. When this is like this is what it is. So it is like pre-trained, and then it's a transformer. Transformer is 2,000 lines of code for it to kind of generate its own output from it. So, and already there are almost trillions of parameters that GPT is calculating. So the rate at which it is kind of being able to calculate, the rate at which it is growing, it's also being referred to almost as an alien intelligence. Because for the first time, why so much talk is happening around it? Humans are for the first time realizing that there could be somebody smarter than them. Because till now we were the dominant kind of species on the planet. So it was always felt that we are the #1 species. Everybody else is intellectually, intelligence-wise, lesser than us. Now here comes an intelligence form which created by us, but almost becoming alien in its capabilities, what it can do. And that's why this whole kind of discussion, this whole fear around it. You were just talking about facial expressions at 7,000 parameters. We have a distinguished guest, the SSP of Chandigarh also here. Later on it's going to be General Huda also, who was kind of instrumental in the surgical strike. So the army, the police, they've also started using facial recognition software, which is also analyzing human behavior. Somebody sweating, fidgeting, the software will analyze it faster than a human will to kind of predict that something could go wrong here. So we live in challenging times. Professor Awasthi, you have done your PhD from IIT Roorkee. You have been associated with the NITs. NITs are going to play a fundamental role in creating the next generation of engineering leaders. So when you see these kind of technological changes happening, what is your kind of general feeling? Is it of excitement? Is it of enthusiasm? It is of worry? Is it apprehension? What is the dominant feeling?
Well, I'll also start with this, that the AI, it's a revolution now. And each and every area is going to be predominantly influenced by artificial intelligence. Definitely, where the other speaker has left, there are a lot many parameters which are needed. So, a lot many data. On the other side, we are having the learning algorithms which are working on at the back end. As you have asked earlier, whether it's going to be plus or minus, so technologically, it is living on this kind of learning which data we provide. So there is definitely, it's a double-edged sword. So it can be used for plus as well as for minus also. So by using this artificial intelligence, we are on one side, let us say cyber security. We are using in cyber security. On one side, it is giving us capability to assess what is going on, and it can give us some insights into what can be the future kind of attacks. Similarly, the attackers can also use it, and they can also advance their techniques of using it against any kind of protection which we are providing. So it's a both, but definitely the main use of this has been into use of how to make life good for people. It can definitely be used for sentiment analysis. It can also be used to deduce the minds, mostly in education system. If there are 60 or 120 students or 100 students, you can say each and every learner is a different learner. So how to capture the learner? This is the technology which has a lot of promise for all such kind of learners, and you'll be able to see that it has an impact, that it can monitor in real time. Real time is I'm teaching my students, and in the real time I can get feedback that these are the students who are following me, these are the students which are out of my class, and these are the students where attention is not in the class. So this kind of feedback we used to have in back when we were teaching that, okay, after teaching a course, you take the feedback of the student. That may not be that helpful. Maybe for successive session it is good. But with the AI and enabled technologies, we are getting feedback in real time. And these the other aspect which you have just told, that for police and all. So you see, in a city, typical maybe Chandigarh, there can be thousands of CCTV cameras, and looking at all those cameras may not be very good for any kind of person sitting on the terminal. Now this AI is helping us. Now the new research is that which are the areas where there is a activity, and those focused areas will be highlighted. So see, it is a lot of promise, and it will be able to deliver also, and I think it will make life better.
Correct. Like you were talking about surveillance, so Indian Army is already experimenting with something called a silent sentry. So silent sentry is like a robot which is mounted on a rail. So on the border areas, between 2 points, there will be a rail on which this silent sentry is mounted, and it goes back and forth on it, scanning the area and using artificial intelligence to figure out if there is any intrusion attempt happening. And it does this incessantly, non-stop. You can have human fatigue, but you will not have machine fatigue because the machine is continuously moving. Professor Nair was talking about artificial narrow intelligence and also artificial general intelligence. Artificial narrow intelligence would be if the room is hot, switch on the AC. If the lights are too bright, dim them. So this would be artificial narrow intelligence. AGI is what humans have, where we can be actually sitting and thinking what's going on, why is this talk happening? So that is AGI. But there is this whole controversy that is ChatGPT and is this transformer actually an AGI, or is it a narrow artificial intelligence which is just a predictor? So that confusion is already there. Some people are saying that it has already become self-aware, but is it self-aware or not? But if we come back to our immediate kind of issues, there is this constant worry that the distance between what is available and what we know is ever increasing, ever kind of, the gap is widening. So as educational leaders, do you see a challenge there for the rest of the people, your engineers? You would know how to work. You understand this technology much more than the common person understands. The common person is going to be impacted by these technologies first and foremost, because they would probably not understand how to react. So is there some sort of a moral imperative also now? What can we do to make sure that a substantial portion of people are able to fruitfully utilize AI, are not completely bogged down by it, the distance doesn't become so much that they can never catch up? So is this a challenge for now? So Professor Ahuja, if you could kind of tell us a bit about that.
So I will say that when we talk about AI, we should talk about responsible AI. And when we talk about responsible AI, there are the four main ingredients of the responsible AI. The one is we call FATE: fairness, accountability, transparency, and ethic. So when we train those data sets, because in AI, basically, you have a model and you train with a data set. So how good your training set or how good is your model, that depends, and that gives you the result based on that one. So we should not be biased with the data. So that's why I say it should be the fairness and the transparency we have to. And we should also think about the human values. So we should be ethically also correct when we are training those data sets. So we have to produce a data set which is fair and which is accountable. It's not like that I make and the data set with the biased data set and some outcome I want, I make with that kind of data set. So you will see that that will bring out in the world this kind of data set and this kind of results, and a lot of company will use it and they will use it in a different way. So that will create unharmony also in the society. So we have to be very responsible when we talk about AI. So AI is, as you mentioned, that this going to touch, as I told you, in each department. So when you get so many pictures of the face expression, you cannot do by hand or something. So we have to again train a model who can look in all those face recognition and to produce a model which is quite accurate and what we are predicting is right, because it will affect the whole mankind. So we have to be very responsible when we be talking about the AI, and especially I will talk about responsible AI. So that is the future. If we use the AI in that way, and nowadays people are talking about a lot about ChatGPT, and of course it's there. It's also creating a lot of challenges as if for educational point of view, educational sector point of view, that our teacher has to be trained much better now. So we have to be one step ahead of this ChatGPT, what they are going to, because we have to bring our student also in the classes. So now what's happening, so they are not coming in the classes, they can get a good solution by ChatGPT why they should come. So it's not like that whatever ChatGPT produces is correct, but it gives you like some kind of a rough guess you can start with. So future we have to think about, especially as a teacher, we have to train ourselves, and we should be one step ahead of our students. And we have to one step ahead of our ChatGPT and all those artificial intelligence combined with the machine learning. So this is going to dominate in the future. And you, as a parents, you will see that when your kids will ask you more difficult question, not that simple question which were previous speaker was saying 73 question. Now this will be not those 73 question for sure. The future will be very different, and it will be tough for parents also as well as the teachers also.
Yes, thank you, Professor Ahuja. You were just saying that you have to be one step ahead of ChatGPT. So when Sam Altman was recently in India, so he was asked this question that you have already developed this model, OpenAI has already developed this model. What can India do? How can we kind of now kind of catch up or whatever? So to which he said, it's hopeless. I mean, don't even try. But basically, that's what he meant. Don't even try. I mean, you can't do it. Basically, he meant that's the impression that he gave, to which a lot of Indian CEOs later on reacted on Twitter and everywhere, that challenge on, challenge accepted, now we'll show you what we can do. But The point is that he seems to be very confident of his gap that has already been put in terms of that technology. Professor Batish was just now talking about this whole kind of hierarchy of things that needs to be done for you to be able to understand certain things. You need to know basic maths for you to be able to kind of go to the next level, for you to then be able to kind of code, program, then to be able to think strategically, then build things up. There has always been this question that certain types of knowledge are easily replicable by machines. For example, if you tell a child to remember the capitals of all the countries in the world, that child is trained again and again and eventually is able to recite. It will appear like as if that child is a genius. But that is something which can be easily done by a machine. Like, say, Shakuntala Devi could do massive calculations, but a simple calculator can do those calculations. So sometimes we get confused about what is genius, what is actual kind of knowledge, what is learning. So, but Professor Nair, you have worked in the area of leadership. It is often said that these technologies, AI will be able to do a lot of things which are done repetitively, which are formulaic, which have steps which kind of lead to certain answers, which is basically the world of engineering and science and technology. It's very sequential. Arts is actually more kind of overlapping, all-encompassing. Is it even possible, I mean, if we turn the argument around, that one will suddenly see the engineering fields go down and the arts fields rise because probably AIs will not be able to handle those areas as well as it can handle sequential kind of areas in science and technology? Would you see this kind of a change happen? And also that question I wanted to ask you about leadership. How do you see AIs leading or humans leading or following? What will happen in this?
You know, a lot of interesting points have been discussed here, and I want to touch upon at least 3 of them. First of all, I want to relate the question we asked to the CEO of OpenAI, and can India catch up? See, if we all look at and think about we all need to achieve the same goal, only then we need to worry about catching up, because you are running for the same thing. I would argue that India and Indian culture has something distinct to offer when we think about AI in the long term. So Professor was mentioning about responsible AI. Responsible AI is even more challenging than AI models itself. The reason is, think about, I think this is valid in India, but less in India, but more in the West. So today in the United States, you ask a question to someone, you either get a conservative Trump kind of an answer or an oak kind of an answer. So these are the mental schemas, these are the worldviews and filters you use. Imagine all those text you use to train ChatGPT. You are going to get every ethical, moral question, you are going to get an oak type of answer. But imagine you purposefully avoided training that large language model and avoided all those liberal, new philosophical or that new age philosophizing. You remove that and you give more conservative, traditional kind of text for training it. It will give different kind of answer. Now the question is, what is responsible? Is it filtering your thought through all those liberal worldview, or filtering your answers through the to the conservative worldview? That's where India can come in, and no culture can really, maybe China or some of the Eastern cultures. So what is so special about our culture? Our culture, we are so much at ease with fussy, multiple answers to questions. See, Americans typically, not all, but generally as a culture, they always need black and white answers. There's also a reason why that black and white answer comes, or it's predominant in the US. So look at US history. It's about 500 years old. Europeans left Europe and came to US. So when did Europeans leave the continental Europe? That was the time philosophers like René Descartes and others were telling, we need to deal with these religious dogmas. We need to solve social issues through scientific means. All right? That was the time the first wave of Europeans left continental Europe and went to the US. So what is scientific way of approaching a problem? So the traditional view of science was either you have it right or wrong, because science is not fussy. At least at the understanding of that. So that was the reason why Americans are still in that, when Bush was talking about old Europe and new Europe, actually old Europe is America and new Europe is Europe, because they kept that snapshot of that view of 500 years, that the time of Rene Descartes and others. So that's why also this ideological polarization. When this kind of ideological polarization is there, training a large language model to be responsible becomes extremely hard, cognitively challenging, more challenging than building those models itself. That's where an Indian culture, where you don't see the world as black and white, you have several shades of right and wrong. That's where we go in. No culture can compete with us. That would be our contribution to AI, responsible AI in the long term.
Great. Yeah. So, in fact, like they say that this is the last window that we have, because we are like parents to a child right now. AI is still a child, but it's growing rapidly. So this is our last opportunity to be good parents, teach the right ethics and morals to AI, because it will only be as good or as bad as the inputs that you give it. So perhaps this is the last window that we have. But Professor Awasthi, coming to you, my last question to you would be, technology is changing a lot of things, including the way education happens, right from the time of admissions, right from the way tests are conducted, right from the kind of answers that students will give, right to designing syllabi, understanding what to kind of work on, what not to work on. Are you already seeing its impact in your institutes? Are you already kind of trying to keep pace with what AI is doing? Because AI is moving at such blistering pace that we have to rapidly keep pace with it.
Definitely. All the education institutions in the country, in the world, is having impact of AI. And many, you can find even the students are opting for courses related to AI and machine learning and things like that. Moreover, you can see that the previous question that you're asking, whether engineering versus arts and other, I think with this new education policy coming, National Education Policy 2020 coming in India, it is going to merge. A person with arts background can also learn AI, computer science, and similarly the other side. So engineering, and I see that there's going to be multidisciplinary education system in India, and the artificial intelligence, it is definitely as a subject, it is going to be more sought kind of thing. As you see, computer science, it is impacting other engineering disciplines, and it is happening across all institutions of national importance and other institutions also. You can see the overall data which we are getting, that as against a particular discipline I'll not name, you'll find many universities having computer science as maybe 5,000 students. So this is a global impact, and in India it is more so. You can find, and many of the universities and national institutes of importance like IITs, NITs, almost everyone is offering now courses in artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science, IoT, all these technologies are there. So I think it is the future, and we are going in the right direction. Plus, definitely the ethics, transparency, all those things need to be embedded with this AI, use of AI and teaching of AI.
Thank you so much. In fact, there were many more questions I would have loved to kind of explore, but we always run out of time. At News 18, we always try and kind of kick up some sort of a discussion over different kinds of issues. AI is going to be around. It's not going anywhere. There is this constant talk that can it be controlled, can be, like there is this recent moratorium on AI development that ChatGPT 5 will not be released for the next 6 months at least. So that in the meantime, you can quickly put your checks and balances in place. But the world is a complex place. One country might, another won't. Another will accelerate, some will kind of do their private research. So this is now an unstoppable force. But thank you so much for participating in this kind of conclave that we had today, and we look forward to having you again here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the valuable insights. Please stay on the stage. I also had many questions, whether we'll have a job in the next 5 years.
No, but we can always discuss them over coffee later.
Yeah.
All the questions that are there.
I now request our Managing Editor, Jyoti Kamal, to felicitate our guests, Dr. Lalit Awasthi, Director, NIT, Uttarakhand. Dr. Padma Kumar Nayar, Director, Thapar Institute of Engineering and Technology. Professor Rajiv Ahuja, Director, IIT Ropar. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Jyoti Kamal. Moving on to the next session, Breaking Barriers. Let us watch an audio visual on the purpose of the discussion in this session.
In a world constrained by limitations and expectations, women rise above, defying odds and breaking barriers. United in diverse communities, they uplift and support one another. Through education, nature, art, and empowerment, they inspire progress and pave the way for an inclusive and equitable future. With unwavering strength and resilience, women leave no obstacle unchallenged, forging paths of empowerment and breaking barriers along the way, creating a world where their potential knows no bounds.
I'd now like to invite Mr. Gaurav Shukla, Deputy News Editor, News18 Punjab, Haryana, to please escort the panelists on the stage. Kamardeep Kaur, SSP, Chandigarh. Kamardeep Kaur, a 2013 batch IPS officer, is the SSP of Chandigarh. She graduated from Punjab Engineering College. She herself takes interest in investigating cases. As Kapurthala SSP, Kamardeep Kaur supervised the investigation in the rape case of a 7-year-old girl, where the charge sheet was filed within 12 days and the district court awarded death penalty to the guilty. Sangeeta Kathat. Retired Group Captain Sangeeta Kathat was commissioned in the administrative branch of the Indian Air Force in 1998. She has served for 21 years and was commended by the Chief of Air Staff on 2 separate occasions. Over to you, Gaurav.
Hello. Thank you, Harsh. Thank you very much. Welcome all. I'll start with some lines, especially for our guest. कहते हैं कि हालात के कदमों में कलंदर नहीं गिरता, टूटा हो तारा तो जमीन पर नहीं गिरता, बड़े शौक से गिरता है दरिया किसी समंदर में, पर समंदर किसी दरिया में नहीं गिरता. बहुत बहुत वेलकम आपका. I'll start with introduction. I think there is no need to introduce feminism power in words sitting next to me. I'll start with breaking barriers. Ma'am, start with you. Breaking barriers या broke barriers, वो कौन से ऐसे बैरियर्स हैं, ऑब्स्टेकल्स हैं, हर्डल्स हैं जो आपकी लाइफ में आए और आपने उनको दूर किया. मैं इसको एक और भी चीज एंगल से देखूंगा कि बहुत सारे ऑब्स्टेकल्स और हर्डल्स ऐसे होते हैं जो आपको एक डाइवर्शन तो दे देते हैं, लेकिन वो भी आपके लिए एक अलग ही आप कह सकते हैं बेनिफिशियल हो जाता है. तो वो कौन से आपको लगता है कि आपकी जर्नी में, आपकी लाइफ की जर्नी में ऐसे ऑब्स्टेकल्स या बैरियर्स रहे हैं जो आपको सोसाइटी के वो बैरियर्स जो आपको दूर करने पड़े, उनको तोड़ना पड़ा?
मैं थोड़ी सी बैकग्राउंड बताती हूँ. मैं मोहाली की रहने वाली हूँ. एक प्राइवेट इंग्लिश मीडियम स्कूल में पढ़े हैं. उसके बाद अच्छी एजुकेशन और कोचिंग के बाद इंजीनियरिंग मैंने चंडीगढ़ से ही, पंजाब इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज से की है. तो जो हम आम पढ़ते हैं, जो चीज़ें, आज का जो टॉपिक है ब्रेकिंग बैरियर्स, कुछ हद तक हमने भी कई बैरियर्स तोड़े हैं जिसके बारे में भी बात करेंगे. बट जितनी प्रिविलेज्ड मेरी अपब्रिंगिंग रही है और एजुकेशन रही है, उसमें एजुकेशन टाइम पे मुझे नहीं लगता कि इतने हमें कोई मुश्किलों का सामना करना पड़ा. देर आर समटाइम्स मेंटल बैरियर्स, लड़कियों के मन में मेंटल बैरियर्स होते हैं कि स्कूल जाना है. हम नाउ आई हैव सर्व्ड इन डिफरेंट डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स इन पंजाब, कपूरथला, फिरोजपुर. एक अभी रिसेंटली न्यूज़ में भी आया था कि बॉर्डर डिस्ट्रिक्ट में 2 गर्ल्स हु यूज्ड टू गो ऑन अ बोट टू क्रॉस सतलुज एंड गो टू द स्कूल. इतनी प्रॉब्लम्स हमें प्रिविलेज्ड क्लास को मैं बोलूँगी सिटीज़ में इतनी नहीं आती. बट talking about a broader scenario in the country or in the world, there are many barriers right from the birth till the very end, throughout the life, jo the women have to face, whether in personal lives or in professional lives. Once I got selected in Indian Police Service, police, जैसे कि हम जानते हैं, is associated with muscle power. शुरू से ही पुलिस और आर्म्ड फोर्सेस को मसल पावर और पावर ऑफ द स्टेट की तरह से देखा जाता था. तो ट्रेडिशनली जब डेमोक्रेसीज नहीं होती थी और हम पुरानी बातें करें, तो तब हम देखते हैं कि women did not obviously have a very good representation in armed forces because it was more associated with strength. But with changing times, आज की डेट में हम देखें, it is not पुलिस में increasing representation of women. मसल पार उतनी नहीं रही है जितना मैनेजमेंट लेवल पे women are heading the force. Lower level पे, constabulary level पे, we have increasing number of women today. They have broken barriers in their students' lives. They have broken barriers during the service. ऐसी जगहों पे पोस्ट होना जहाँ पे ट्रेडिशनली कोई विमेन आज तक पोस्ट नहीं रही हैं. इंडिपेंडेंस के बाद भी हम देखते हैं, आफ्टर 75 years of independence, there are many posts where women have never served. There are many places where women have never served, or women, it was not thought that women can serve in those places. So there is not one barrier. There are many barriers which are broken daily, which are broken in all phases of life, in all aspects of life, in all age groups. And we can't even, if we start talking about it, it'll take ages. But then we need to appreciate कि इतना काम जहाँ हो चुका है वहाँ पे और भी अभी बहुत होने वाला है.
संगीता मैम, ऑब्स्टेकल्स का हम जिक्र कर रहे हैं, बात कर रहे हैं. आप फैमिली बैकग्राउंड आपकी आर्मी से है, आपके फादर आर्मी बैकग्राउंड से थे, तो ये एडवांटेज रहती है, डिसएडवांटेज रहती है, आप इसको किस तरह से देखते हैं? आप ग्रुप कैप्टन तक के डेजिग्नेशन तक पहुंचे, मैं उसके ऊपर आऊंगा कि उसके बाद आप एक अलग फील्ड को आके ज्वाइन करते हैं, तो ये किस तरह से आप अपनी जर्नी को देखते हैं, स्पेशली जब आप एज अ ग्रुप कैप्टन देखते हैं खुद को?
मैं भी, मतलब जो मेरी जर्नी रही है वो अगर बचपन से शुरू करूंगी तो बहुत लंबी हो जाएगी. सो आई विल जस्ट कट शॉर्ट माय चाइल्डहुड एंड से दैट ओके, आई वाज आल्सो, आई गॉट लॉट ऑफ प्रिविलेजेस बिकॉज मेरे पिताजी फौज में थे. तो उनके फौज में होने से एडवांटेजेस भी रहते हैं बिकॉज आप इंडिपेंडेंट बहुत जल्दी बन जाते हैं, और डिसएडवांटेजेस रहते हैं कि आपको बहुत कम पिताजी दिखने को मिलते हैं, बहुत कम समय आप उनके साथ बिता सकते हैं. बट येस, जो मेरा प्राइमरी मोटिवेशन और जो इंस्पिरेशन थे फौज को ज्वाइन करने के लिए, वो मेरे फादर ही थे. और बहुत कम समय बचपन पे मैंने उनके साथ बिताया बिकॉज वो इन्फेंट्री के थे, 2nd गढ़वाल राइफल्स के थे, तो मोस्टली ही वाज पोस्टेड टू फील्ड एरियाज. बट जब भी आते थे और उनकी जो यूनिफॉर्म थी, जब मैं उसको देखती थी तो उसमें जो पी कैप थी वो मुझे बहुत अट्रैक्ट करती थी. एंड चुपचाप से मैं उस पी कैप को पहन के शीशे के सामने खड़े होकर अपने आप को बहुत एडमायर भी किया करती थी. बट एट दैट टाइम आई यूज्ड टू बी सैड बिकॉज दैट टाइम देयर वर नो अपॉर्चुनिटीज फॉर वुमेन टू जॉइन द आर्म्ड फोर्सेज. Subsequently, as I grew up and sometimes in college, I guess I came to know that अब फौज में लड़कियों को भी ले रहे हैं. And that was a time I had already decided that yes, this is what I want to do, and now this opportunity has been open to me, so I definitely want to do it. So that is how I filled up the forms for Army as well as Air Force. And Air Force पे मेरा पहले selection हो गया था, तो मैं Air Force में मैंने join किया. ज्वाइन करने से पहले जो आपने सवाल पूछा कि पिताजी फौज में थे तो एडवांटेज था कि नहीं था, तो ज्वाइन करने में और आपको जब अपनी कैपेबिलिटी वहाँ सिलेक्शन में प्रूव करनी होती है तो उसमें कोई भी फर्क नहीं पड़ता कि आपका बैकग्राउंड कुछ भी है, आप कोई भी बैकग्राउंड से हो, आपका सिलेक्शन प्रोसेस बहुत इंडिपेंडेंटली होता है. सो व्हेन आई गॉट सेलेक्टेड इन द एयरफोर्स, माई फादर हैड ओनली टोल्ड मी वन थिंग. He said, join करना है या नहीं करना है, this is totally your choice, your decision in life, whether you want to join Air Force Academy or not. But if you join, then remember that you cannot come back. That means my house doors are closed. You cannot come in between training, because he knew what kind of training would be there. So he said, आप जाओ, आपकी decision है, but आप बीच में वापस नहीं आ सकते. So I think that was a very big boost for me, and that was something I knew I couldn't go back home. So I strived, and definitely training जो होती है वो भी एक बहुत बड़ा barrier होता है, because इंडिया में उस वक्त स्पेशली गर्ल्स को इतना ज़्यादा फिजिकल एक्सपोजर नहीं मिलता था. सो आई वॉज नॉट अ एथलेटिक काइंड ऑफ अ पर्सन हु वॉज इन्वॉल्व इन टू एथलेटिक्स, and suddenly you get into academy and then the rigorous training. So definitely that is one big barrier that you had to get through. But the entire course does it, and you do it together. So with that strong willpower and no way to go back home, I think I did that.
मैं उस अगले सवाल पर भी साथ ही आ जाता हूँ कि आमतौर पर हम बात करते हैं जमीन से आसमां की ओर. आपने आसमां को भी छुआ और उसके बाद रैंप पर भी आप वॉक करते हुए नजर आए. ये मतलब एक अलग ही कॉम्बिनेशन बनता हुआ नजर आए. ये भी कोई अलग तरीके से आपने सोचा, और कैसे? क्योंकि इंस्पायर कर रहे हैं आप बहुत सारी फीमेल्स को जो सोच रही हैं कि हाँ, एक फील्ड में आपने बहुत कुछ अच्छा अचीव कर लिया, उसके बाद नेक्स्ट, व्हाट इज नेक्स्ट, हमेशा जो दिमाग में चलता रहता है कि अब आगे क्या.
So 2019, my tenure was very nice in the Air Force. I served for around 21 years. And 21 years के बाद, due to personal reasons, I had to take a pre-release in 2019. जब मैंने pre-release लिया, उस वक्त ऐसा कोई प्लान नहीं था कि मैं मॉडलिंग या फैशन शोज या ब्यूटी पैजेंट्स करूंगी. ऐसा there was no thought, no planning in my mind. My purpose of leaving Forge was due to personal reasons. My father had an open heart surgery and my children also needed me. So that was my reason. But then बचपन में एक छोटा सा कभी सपना, जैसा सारी लड़कियां देखती हैं, मैंने भी देखा था कि हम रैंप पे वॉक करें. आई थिंक दैट इज अ ड्रीम ऑफ मोस्ट ऑफ द गर्ल्स. और एक क्राउन छोटा सा हमारे सिर पे हो, एंड यू फील लाइक यू आर अ क्वीन एंड यू वांट टू वॉक द रैंप एंड द एंटायर वर्ल्ड इज योर्स. लाइक सो वैसे एक छोटा सा अपना बहुत थोड़े से टेम्पररी फेस के लिए मैंने भी देखा था, शायद क्लास 12th में. And those days modeling was not considered, very reputable or, very respectable kind of a thing. And there was definitely a total no, that no, this is not something that you're going to get into. And my love for my nation, I think, led me to doing March Past. So ramp walk छूट गई थी और मैं March Past में आ चुकी थी. And I have loved those March Past as well. And but subsequently when I took retirement, it was COVID time. And COVID made me realize that, okay, those small little things in life that are very important. This is what COVID taught us, कि छोटी छोटी चीजें जो हम लाइफ में छोड़ देते हैं वो भी बहुत important है. और मुझे लगा समय है तो मैं थोड़ा सा इस तरफ देखूं. And some of my course-mates also told me, नहीं, you must do it. So that is how I entered into modeling.
Which is more interesting?
No, I think both are definitely, both have their own pluses and both have their own minuses. And I've loved both of them. I've loved March Past as well, and I've loved ramp walks as well. So both of them are interesting.
कमल मैम, मैं आपका ट्विटर अकाउंट देख रहा था, उसके ऊपर मदर कॉप. तो ये मदर वहां पर भी पहले है, हर जगह पहले. किस तरह से आप मैनेज कर रही हैं इन चीजों को? क्योंकि मैं आपका पिछले कुछ टाइम की पोस्टिंग देख रहा था, मलेरकोटला, चंडीगढ़ है, उसके बाद एक दो और जगह आपकी पोस्टिंग रही. तो ये कैसे चीजें मैनेज होती हैं?
सबसे पहले तो क्योंकि द नेचर ऑफ जॉब इज सच, जब से नाउ आई हैव 10 years ऑफ सर्विस बिहाइंड मी. जैसे कि आपने बताया कि मलेरकोटला जब नया डिस्ट्रिक्ट बना तो वहां पे मुझे लगाया गया. उसके बाद फिरोजपुर व्हेन आई जॉइंड, आई वाज द फर्स्ट फीमेल हु वाज एवर पोस्टेड देयर. बॉर्डर एरिया था. और बिल्कुल अभी रिसेंटली लास्ट ईयर मैं फिरोजपुर में रही हूँ. द नेचर ऑफ जॉब इज सच. पुलिसिंग एक इमरजेंसी सर्विस है, तो 24/7 हमें अपने टोज पे रहना पड़ता है. फोन नहीं ऑफ कर सकते. सुबह जाके कब शाम को वापस आना है पता नहीं होता. तो वो सब ठीक है, वो सब भी काम है. बट देन आपकी पर्सनल लाइफ भी है. आई हैव अ 4-year-old सन, and I also have responsibility towards him, towards my family, towards the society that I'm serving, towards my department. So everything goes hand in hand. And women, I think, at some level have to balance all. अगर मेल्स अगर थोड़ा कम टाइम घर पे दे पाएं तो इतना फर्क नहीं पड़ता, और इट इज ऑल्सो फॉरगिवेबल टू सम एक्सटेंट इन आवर सोसाइटी। बट अगर मदर घर पे ना ज्यादा टाइम दे पाए तो एक तो खुद को गिल्ट होता है, देयर इज अ थिंग कॉल्ड मदर्स गिल्ट। सो आई ऑल्सो फील कि 2 दिन हो गए हैं मैंने उसको मतलब बैठ के खाना नहीं खाया इकट्ठे, या हमने बात नहीं की अच्छे से, उसकी शक्ल नहीं देखी, तो अ मदर्स गिल्ट ऑल्सो सेट्स इन। सो यू हैव टू रियली बैलेंस द टू। इट इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट, और हर रोज अच्छी तरह बैलेंस हो भी नहीं पाता। कभी काम पे ज्यादा ध्यान हो जाता है तो वो पार्ट जो है वो निग्लेक्टेड रह जाता है। कभी काम छोड़ के छुट्टी लेके वो उसमें भी बड़ा गिल्ट होता है, तो पर्सनल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज को भी देखना पड़ता है।
उसी पॉइंट पर आ रहा है, समर वेकेशंस टाइप कुछ होता है कि नहीं?
देयर इज नो वेकेशन, देयर इज नो सैटरडे संडे, देयर इज नो छुट्टी,
देयर इज नो शिमला ट्रिप और मनाली ट्रिप है,
नथिंग एट ऑल। तो इट इज वेरी रेयर, एंड स्पेशली बीइंग इन रिस्पॉन्सिबल पोजीशंस, वहां पे बहुत कम स्कोप रह जाता है। एंड यू हैव टू रियली बैलेंस द बोथ, एंड आई थिंक इन आवर प्रोफेशंस it is really the family that supports you. So my mother, my husband, who is also a civil servant, तो जितना support वो करते हैं उससे ही it really pushes you, because you are carefree कि घर पे someone is taking care of your child, and that is how you can give best at your job while you're at the job. तो I don't have to think twice कि बच्चे को कहाँ छोड़ के आए हैं। तो it is the family which supports you, and there are no excuses.
मैं एक एजुकेशन समिट की तरफ भी आऊं, जो पूरा हम आज थीम लेकर चल रहे हैं। स्कूल एजुकेशन का आपको कितना बड़ा रोल नजर आता है अगर किसी स्टूडेंट ने यूपीएससी की तरफ जाना है? मैं बहुत क्लियर शब्दों में पूछूं कि 8th 10th 12th ग्रेजुएशन के टाइम कहां एक स्टूडेंट को लगे, या आपको कब लगा कि हाँ ये आईपीएस की तरफ जाना है, मेरे को यूपीएससी की तरफ जाना है?
See, education definitely plays the most important role. Schooling or family values, I think both go hand in hand. Schooling में जैसे कि थोड़ी सी रिफ्लेक्ट अपॉन हुई ड्यूरिंग द प्रीवियस डिस्कशन ऑल्सो, कि जैसे एक मैथ्स टीचर है वो हमें 50 तरह के सम्स नहीं कराता, वो हमें एक मेथड बता देता है जिससे हम 200 तरह के सम सॉल्व कर सकते हैं। सो एजुकेशन शुड बी concentrating on dealing on ways and means, on teaching a way of life, on teaching how to go about things. हर चीज जो हम जिंदगी में करते हैं वो सिखाई नहीं जा सकती, हर सिचुएशन हम पहले एक्सपीरियंस नहीं की होती। सो it is about shaping your personality, it is about shaping your persona. तो education definitely plays a very important role. One, एकेडमिक्स जो हम बात करते हैं कि स्कूल टाइम में एकेडमिक्स स्ट्रांग होते हैं। दूसरा एक एटीट्यूड टुवर्ड्स एजुकेशन, टुवर्ड्स लाइफ, अ जनरल एटीट्यूड, एन एटीट्यूड ऑफ नॉट गिविंग अप, एन एटीट्यूड टू ऑलवेज स्ट्राइव फॉर एक्सीलेंस। तो ये सारी चीजें जब इनकलकेट होती हैं, आई थिंक इट इज अ 360 डिग्री पर्सनैलिटी डेवलपमेंट ऑफ द चाइल्ड, ऑफ एन इंडिविजुअल। तो एजुकेशन के बिना आई डोंट थिंक एनीथिंग इज पॉसिबल। एजुकेशन इन today's age, education is of prime importance, especially for women, because we are talking about that today. For your empowerment, for your personal empowerment, for your future, for everything, for your everything you are wanting to be in life.
संगीता मैम, मैं एक्चुअली एजुकेशन के ऊपर इसलिए फोकस कर रहा हूँ कि बहुत सारी चीजें ऐसी हैं जो कई बार नहीं पता लगती है, स्पेशली इन यूपीएससी। और अगर मैं एयरफोर्स का जिक्र करूं, आप फैमिली बैकग्राउंड आपकी ऐसी थी कि शायद बहुत सारी चीजें आपको पता लग गई या पता लग गई होंगी, एक बहुत बड़ा एडवांटेज हो सकता है कि रहा हो। पर बहुत सारी फैमिलीज में ऐसा नहीं होता। बहुत सारी फीमेल्स आपको इस समय सुन रही होंगी जो स्पेशली ग्रुप कैप्टन जैसी किसी पोस्ट तक पहुंचना चाहती हैं, या एयरफोर्स को ज्वाइन करना चाहती हैं, या नेवी को या आर्मी को ज्वाइन करना चाहती हैं। उनके लिए क्या सजेशंस, क्या मैसेज है आपके ओर से कि हाँ ये एक वे हो सकता है कि आप उस फील्ड को या जहां आप तक पहुंचे वहां तक पहुंच सकती हैं?
Yes, इस पे मैं शुरुआत यहाँ से करना चाहूंगी that my mother had never gone to school. ठीक है, मेरी मम्मी कभी भी स्कूल नहीं गई थी, but she knew the power of education. उनको पता था कि एजुकेशन का महत्व क्या है, और इसलिए उन्होंने अपनी दोनों बेटियों को पढ़ाया। जिस भी हालात में हमें जहाँ पे भी, बिकॉज इनिशियली हम लोग एक विलेज में रहते थे उत्तराखंड के, एंड देन वी शिफ्टेड टू देहरादून, एंड उन्होंने अकेले रह करके हमें पाला, बिकॉज माई फादर वॉज इन द आर्मी। एंड एम्पावरमेंट, एज यू राइटली सेड, बिगिंस विद एजुकेशन. तो अगर हम एजुकेटेड होंगे तभी हम अपने गोल तक पहुंच पाएंगे, चाहे वो गोल हमारा यूपीएससी हो, चाहे पायलट बनने का हो, चाहे कोई भी और कैरियर पाथ हम लेना चाहते हैं. बेसिक एजुकेशन बहुत जरूरी है. जब आप एजुकेटेड होंगे तो आप अपने यू विल नॉट लिमिट योर सेल्फ एंड यू विल बी एबल टू ड्रीम. और जब आप सपने देखेंगे तभी आप एक गोल को चुनेंगे कि हाँ, ये मेरा सपना है, इसको मुझे अचीव करना है. एंड दैट विल हैपन ओनली विद एजुकेशन. So once you understand that, okay, you want to become a pilot or you want to join the Air Force, then you should know that these are the qualifications that I need. आजकल तो सब कुछ इंटरनेट पे बहुत अवेलेबल है, उस जमाने में नहीं अवेलेबल था. आजकल everything is available. So you should know that, okay, if I want to become a pilot, I have to study maths and physics in my 12th. अगर मैंने maths और physics ही नहीं पढ़ा 12th में, तो फिर मैं pilot नहीं बन सकता. And now in your graduation final year, you decide that, okay, I want to become a pilot. By the time it's too late. So you have to set your goals and your passion very early in your life and then focus and work towards it. तो अगर आपने so फौज में जाने के लिए, कोई भी सर्विसेज हो जाने के लिए 2 एंट्री लेवल्स हैं. एक आपके 12th के बाद का एंट्री लेवल है और एक आपका ग्रेजुएशन का एंट्री लेवल है. 12th के बाद अगर आप जाते हैं तो आप एनडीए ज्वाइन करेंगे. और अभी तो बहुत खुशी की बात है कि हमारी बेटियां भी अब एनडीए में हैं. सो दिस इज अ 3rd बैच आई थिंक जो कि एनडीए में जा रहा है. तो लड़कियों के लिए भी एनडीए ही एक इंस्टीट्यूट रह गया था, वो भी अब इट has also started taking women. So now if you are after your 12th, in case you want to join, you can join NDA. आप चाहे लड़के हो चाहे लड़की हो, और NDA में आपको तीनों choices मिलते हैं. You can choose Army, Air Force as well as Navy. You give your priorities and then you join NDA. There's a rigorous selection process. It's a very long selection process. You give your written, then you give your SSB. After your SSB, you go for your medicals. Medical के बाद में फिर आप All India Merit List में जाते हैं, and then finally you join NDA. So likewise, after your graduation also, you have various entries. Like you have combined defense services exam, CDS exam entry. This you can give in your final year of your graduation. And you can also give AFCAT if you want to join Air Force, Air Force Common Admission Test. Then you can give INET in case you want to join Navy. And if you are an NCC special entry student, then you can also have NCC special entry wherein आपको written exam देना ही नहीं है. So graduate entry पे भी आपके पास बहुत सारे levels हैं जिसके through आप फौज को join कर सकते हैं. And once you join, you will initially join as the first rank, that is Air Force में join करेंगे, flying officer होंगे, Army में जाएंगे तो captain होंगे. And as you graduate, subsequently you can become the chiefs also. You can become the chief of the air staff and the chief of the army staff as well.
Hopefully बहुत helpful होगा जो भी इसको सुनेंगे. आपने एक जिक्र किया कि उस टाइम इंटरनेट की इतनी अवेलेबिलिटी नहीं थी जितनी आज है. इनफैक्ट आज तो हम इस सेशन में एआई को बहुत डिस्कस कर रहे हैं. तो ये भी आपको लगता है कि आने वाले टाइम में ये कॉम्पिटिशन्स को और बढ़ा देंगे, या किस तरह से आप इसको देखते हैं कि या बहुत आसान भी कर सकते हैं चीजें जिनको ये चीजें ऑपरेट करनी आ रही हैं? एआई या चैट जीपीटी का बहुत जिक्र हो रहा है.
मुझे लगता है कि कोई भी जो चेंज होता है, कोई भी परिवर्तन होता है, उसमें हम बहुत एप्रीहेंसिव होते हैं. और एआई भी एक वैसे ही परिवर्तन है जिसके लिए अभी हम बहुत एप्रीहेंसिव है. जैसे सोशल मीडिया जब आया था हम बहुत एप्रीहेंसिव थे, पर सोशल मीडिया के भी दोनों पहलू थे. आप उसको अच्छे से यूटिलाइज भी कर सकते हैं और आप उसमें समय भी बर्बाद कर सकते हैं. दोनों पहलू हैं. तो एआई का भी वैसे ही है. बच्चे अगर चाहेंगे तो एआई को बहुत अच्छे से यूटिलाइज कर सकते हैं अपने बेनिफिट के लिए, अपने एडवांटेज के लिए, और अच्छे से सीख सकते हैं. बहुत सारे एंट्रेंस टेस्ट पे इस चीज का फायदा भी उठा सकते हैं. और अगर आप जैसे हमने रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी की पिछले सेशन में बात करी, अगर आप रिस्पॉन्सिबल नहीं होंगे तो फिर आप एआई का अच्छे से इस्तेमाल नहीं कर पाएंगे. तो मैं स्टूडेंट से सिर्फ यही रिक्वेस्ट करना चाहूंगी कि जो भी चेंज आ रहा है आप उसको अपने एडवांटेज के लिए यूज कीजिए. चाहे वो सोशल मीडिया था तो भी आप एडवांटेज के लिए यूज कीजिए. इतना सारा अवेयरनेस आपको अब सोशल मीडिया के थ्रू मिल जाती है. लाइकवाइज एआई भी आप अपने एडवांटेज के लिए यूज कीजिए, जिससे आप अपने अवेयरनेस लेवल्स को, अपने पर्सनालिटी को फर्दर ग्रूम कीजिए, बेटर कीजिए, ताकि आप अपने पैशन के लिए और अपने प्रोफेशन के लिए फिट हो सके.
कमल मैम, एक सवाल है कि बहुत सारे क्रिमिनल्स को फेस आपको भी करना पड़ता होगा. ये मेल क्रिमिनल्स और फीमेल क्रिमिनल्स कोई फर्क नजर आता है कभी?
See, criminal is a criminal for us. तो जैसे आज वो बड़ा लुधियाने वाला बड़ा केस, it's being highlighted a lot. So I think everyone who's on the wrong side of the law is a criminal for us.
डायरेक्टली पूछूंगी, कोई सॉफ्ट कॉर्नर तो नहीं रहता फीमेल क्रिमिनल्स के लिए?
नहीं, not at all जी, not at all. मैं, as I said that everything on the wrong side of the law, caught on the wrong side of the law is a criminal for us. और ऐसा कभी भी कोई भी फीलिंग या कोई भी ऐसा नहीं होता.
एक और चीज, क्योंकि आप पंजाब में अलग अलग जगह पर आपने मलेरकोटला फिरोजपुर का जिक्र किया, नाउ यू आर इन चंडीगढ़, तो चंडीगढ़ में फोर्ट्स और साथ साथ एक सीसीटीवी फोर्ट्स, दोनों बहुत एक हेल्पफुल चीजें हैं, तो दोनों को कैसे कंपेयर करते हैं आप, जो मलेरकोटला या पंजाब में किसी जगह पर हैंडल करना बतौर एसएसपी और चंडीगढ़ में?
पुलिसिंग इन इंडिया इफ यू टॉक अबाउट, हमारे जो गाइडिंग लॉज हैं, क्रिमिनल लॉज हैं, वो सेम है सारे इंडिया में। पंजाब और चंडीगढ़ की फोर्स दोनों, पंजाब पुलिस रूल से पावर्स ड्रॉ करती है, तो ऑर्गेनाइजेशनली ज्यादा फर्क नहीं है दोनों में
जी।
ऑब्वियसली देर आर, जैसे चंडीगढ़ की हम बात करें, जैसे आपने बोला फोर्स थोड़ी ज्यादा है, सो एज एन एसएसपी माय थानाज हैव मोर फोर्स, जितना रिसोर्सेज हमारे पास पंजाब थे, मैन पावर जरूर ज्यादा है, बट उसके अलावा ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल वर्किंग में या ऑब्वियसली लीगल एस्पेक्ट्स तो सब सेम ही हैं, उसमें ज्यादा फर्क नहीं है। चंडीगढ़ में विद द स्मार्ट सिटी प्रोजेक्ट और जो इंटीग्रेटेड कमांड एंड कंट्रोल सेंटर है, जिससे पूरा चंडीगढ़ में सीसीटीवीज का नेटवर्क है, कुछ लेवल पे एआई वहां पे भी यूज कर रहे हैं, नंबर प्लेट रिकॉग्निशन सॉफ्टवेयर्स हैं, ब्लैक लिस्टेड नंबर्स को हाईलाइट और पिंक से पता चल जाता है। तो ऑब्वियसली टूल्स ऐसे, जब एक कन्फाइंड सिटी होती है वहां पे कोई भी प्रोजेक्ट को इम्प्लीमेंट करने में आसानी होती है। पंजाब की अगर बात करें तो डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स आर बिगर डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स, जहाँ पे इतने रिसोर्सेज और जहाँ पे इतनी फोर्स और इतने टेक्नोलॉजिकल रिसोर्सेज कई बार नहीं होते, तो उतना फर्क जरूर है, और इससे डेफिनेटली पुलिसिंग पे डायरेक्ट इम्पैक्ट आता है। पिछले टाइम में हमारे जो सीसीटीवी कैमरास का नेटवर्क है चंडीगढ़ में, इन दिस ईयर आई थिंक ओवर 200 केसेस वर सॉल्व्ड एंड ट्रेस्ड जस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ आवर सीसीटीवी कैमरास नेटवर्क। सो टेक्नोलॉजी डेफिनेटली हेल्प्स अस, and as we were discussing before the session, ki we are moving forward, and there are many other artificial intelligence tools that police forces all across the world are adopting and going ahead with.
मैम एक फाइनल क्वेश्चन आपसे, एक्चुअली बहुत सारी चीजों के बीच एक जो आप जिक्र कर रही हैं, मैम हैंडल करते हैं जो एनिमी है सोसाइटी के, और एयरफोर्स हैंडल करती है जो एनिमी है कंट्री के। तो आप एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव में रही हैं, किस तरह से उन चीजों को हैंडल किया जाता है, जो इनपुट्स हैं वो मैं सीधे शब्दों में पूछूं कि क्या वहां पर कभी कोई पैनिक सिचुएशन होती है, कि कोई डर वाली सिचुएशन होती है ऑफिस में, एयरफोर्स के पायलट्स में?
पैनिक तो मुझे नहीं लगता है कि होता है, बिकॉज हम उस तरह से ट्रेन ही नहीं किए जाते हैं कि हम पैनिक में जाएं। जो ट्रेनिंग होती है वो आपको यही सिखाती है कि कैसे आप पूरे केओस में भी आप अपने आप को बैलेंस रख सकें और एक अच्छा सूझा समझा डिसीजन आप ले सकें। इसी के लिए आपको बहुत ज़्यादा ट्रेन किया जाता है फौज में। एंड जो सिचुएशंस होती हैं, वो जो सिचुएशंस आती हैं वो बहुत ही मैं कहूँगी ऑपरेशनली एक्टिव सिचुएशंस कई बारी होती हैं। जैसे मैंने जब फौज ज्वाइन की थी 1998 में मैं कमीशन हुई थी, और 1999 पे ऑपरेशन कारगिल, जो हमारा ऑपरेशन विजय था, कारगिल का मई में कारगिल शुरू हो गया था ऑपरेशन, एंड मैंने जनवरी में ही ज्वाइन किया था। सो आई बीन वेरी फॉर्चुनेट, जहां जहां मैं गई हूँ वहां कुछ ना कुछ ऑपरेशन होते रहे हैं। सो इट वाज अ टाइम एंड द एंटायर नेशन वाज एक्टिव। सो जो एयरफोर्स में जो प्लानिंग होती है, वी आर सो ट्रेन्ड, और हम इतने सारे एक्सरसाइजेस करते हैं so that our operational preparedness at any point of time is very high. It is at the peak. So if when something happens, we know that, okay, these are the steps that we need to take, and we are very well prepared for it. So there is no panic. Then when I went to, after this I went to Nalia, and जैसे मैं नलिया पहुंची तो वहाँ भुज earthquake हो चुका था, और relief operations पे हम लग गए थे तुरंत ही. So I reported in 2001 February, and January was the भुज earthquake. So उसमें भी हमारे बहुत SOPs वगैरह बहुत क्लियर होते हैं, जो स्टैंडर्ड ऑपरेटिंग प्रोसेसेस होते हैं कि अगर ये सिचुएशन होगा तो आपने क्या क्या करना है. सो एवरीथिंग हैपेंस वेरी फास्ट, वेरी क्विक, देयर इज नो वेस्टेज ऑफ टाइम, mobilizations happen very fast, and then immediately after the earthquake I was into Operation Parakram. This was after the Indian Parliament was there was an attack on the Indian Parliament in 2001, because of which there was a massive mobilization, military mobilization in the western sector. And there's a lot of augmentation that happens. All the units move towards that direction. जैसे अभी आपने ईस्टर्न फ्रंट में भी कुछ समय पहले देखा होगा. So everything is very planned and there is no panic ever. And I think the forces are well prepared to take on any contingencies that happen to prevent and to safeguard the nation.
कमल मैम, एक आखिरी सवाल आपसे जरूर, एक्चुअली मैं एआई से जुड़ा सवाल जरूर पूछना चाह रहा था. साइबर क्राइम एक बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज इस समय पुलिस के सामने है, और इन बिटवीन ये एआई भी पूरी दुनिया के सामने आ रहा है. तो किस तरह से अपग्रेड पुलिस हो, स्पेशली साइबर क्राइम को लेके, उसके लिए भी कोई पूरा रोड मैप कुछ इस तरह से तैयार किया जा रहा है? ये बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है. बहुत सारे लोग इस समय आपको सुन रहे होंगे और बहुत सारे लोगों को दिक्कत हुई है साइबर क्राइम की वजह से.
जी बिल्कुल, एज आई सेड बिफोर कि हर तरह की सिचुएशन हमें पहले नहीं पता होती. साइबर इज अ न्यू डोमेन, और जैसे जैसे साइबर क्रिमिनल्स एक्टिव हो रहे हैं वैसे वैसे लॉ एनफोर्समेंट एजेंसीज ऑल्सो, वी आर आई वुड से समटाइम्स अ स्टेप अहेड ऑफ देम. तो बहुत सारे साइबर क्रिमिनल्स पकड़े भी जा रहे हैं. कहीं किसी लेवल पे मुझे लगता है अवेयरनेस की भी बहुत जरूरत है, जो पुलिस एक्स्ट्रा एफर्ट लेती है. हालांकि हमारा काम उतना होता है कि हमें कोई ऑफेंस और क्रिमिनल को पकड़ना है, बट बिकॉज वी हैव टू प्रिवेंट अ क्राइम ऑल्सो, तो हम अवेयरनेस की तरफ भी जाते हैं. स्पेशली एल्डर्स, चिल्ड्रन एंड दोज पीपल हु डू नॉट नो जो किस तरह से हमें साइबर पे सेफली ब्राउज करना है, सेफली ऑपरेट करना है. बट लॉ एनफोर्समेंट एजेंसीज थ्रू आउट द वर्ल्ड ऑब्वियसली फेसेस दिस चैलेंज. धीरे धीरे हम अपनी भी कैपेबिलिटीज बढ़ा रहे हैं.
एक्चुअली ये भी कहते हैं कि जो क्रिमिनल्स होते हैं वो 2 कदम आगे होते हैं कई बार पुलिस से भी.
सी इट इज अ कैट एंड माउस गेम एंड इट ऑलवेज स्टेज लाइक दिस. ये हमेशा से ऐसे चला आ रहा है, और जैसे जैसे उनकी कैपेबिलिटीज बढ़ रही हैं, पुलिस की भी बढ़ रही हैं. चंडीगढ़ पुलिस बहुत बड़ा इनिशिएटिव अभी लेने जा रही है. सेनकॉप्स करके एक बहुत बड़ा स्टेट ऑफ द आर्ट सेंटर यहाँ पे खुलने जा रहा है, जिसकी पीछे डिफेंस मिनिस्टर साहब ने इनॉग्रेशन भी की है आके. एंड इट विल बी वन ऑफ द बेस्ट सेंटर्स इन नॉर्थ इंडिया which will deal in techniques to counter cybercrime and investigate cybercrime cases. So obviously there is a challenge, and there is also a parallel development in capabilities of police forces. And I think कि जैसे अभी तक police has been able to meet all the challenges, और ये भी आसानी से हो जाएगा.
थैंक यू वेरी मच मैम न्यूज़ 18 के साथ जुड़ने के लिए, और होपफुली बहुत सारी बातें हो गई हैं और शायद रह भी गई हैं, और आगे भी होपफुली उनके ऊपर हम बात करते रहेंगे.
थैंक यू सो मच.
थैंक यू मैम.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Back to Arsh.
Thank you. Ma'am, please stay on the stage. I'd now request our managing editor, Jyoti Kamal, to please come on the stage and felicitate our guests. Kamardeep Kaur, SSP, Chandigarh. Retired Group Captain Sangeeta Kathat. Thank you so much. Thank you. In Thapar Institute of Engineering and Technology presents News 18 Punjab Haryana Education Summit Season 4, co-powered by Reliance Industries Limited. We are focusing on AI. Soon we'll also have an AI anchor core asking questions in the next session. But before that, let us now move on to a special address on artificial intelligence. I would like to call Mr. Kamal Vadhera, CEO TCY Online, to the podium and deliver the special address. This platform is being used by millions of students in more than 1,500 coaching centers in India and abroad. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks, News 18 team. Well, let me start with a small question. Okay. So think in your minds, what's the biggest frustration in the world? I mean, the most common. So my hint is, most likely most of us have faced this frustration at some point of time in our lives.
I'll try to show that in a small image. The hint is, I think in our student lives, somewhere or the other, we definitely face this frustration. And try to relate if this is true. Is it right? No, can't relate? Yeah, I see some heads nodding. So, as they say, every man comes to this earth with a unique purpose, right? But the irony is, the man and that unique purpose hardly meet. But wherever it happens, so wherever they meet, magic happens. And how does that magic look like? Is it right? Isn't it magical? So now, let's try to just think, let's try to close our eyes and think, what has been that fundamental, central question behind that frustration, if at all we face. At least in my student days, I definitely faced what I just showed you in the preceding slide. Okay, so what is that fundamental question? What is that, question at the heart that created that kind of frustration? I think this is what always, whenever we were in that situation, somewhere in our hearts, somewhere in our minds, this question was there. That where do I stand and what next should I do to succeed? This was there 500 years back also, and we face it today. Ask students, they face it today also. But as mankind has found solutions to most of such frustrating situations, there must be some solution to these issues also. So, welcome to AI. That is the central theme of this discussion today. So, thankfully, in today's world, we have an education system, the education system, it is ready, that can address, that can change this dream, the dream, into reality. So what is that dream? I think that's all we wanted from our education system. Okay, can my education system be personalized? Which means not one size fits all. Can I learn anywhere? Can I learn anytime? Whether in the classroom, whether at home, when I'm on the go, in the train, airport, anywhere. Okay? Or the way I understand. It could be audio, it could be visual, it could be combination, it could be plain text or whatever. Right? So now, moving on. So here I move to AI. Three professors also touched upon AI beautifully in one of the sessions. So if I have to see what the broad applications of AI are, so this is how I would like to view AI in education system at least. So when it comes to assisted intelligence, it's the most common type of AI in education system. So just think of a scenario that students are submitting their quizzes, their assessments, or their essays. And these are evaluated on a predefined set of rubrics / metrics / answer keys, and the system recognizes the pattern of submission and it starts giving immediate feedback to the student and the future course of action. Just imagine what is happening here now. Three things are happening. First, we have a standardized way of gradation. Students don't have to wait now for the essays to be checked. And the professors, the teachers don't have to do the mundane job, the repetitive job, not even their teaching assistants. The next is augmented intelligence. So as the name suggests, it doesn't try to replace human intelligence, rather it helps it. So what it tries to do is it integrates the newly acquired data and it integrates into the existing information and new innovative solutions come out. So the simplest example is the adaptive learning platforms that we see around us. Okay, what it does is, so these platforms leverage AI algorithms, okay, and they analyze student performance and behavior data. Like what types of questions he or she is normally wrong in, what time of the day his performance is good, you know, does he or she, you know, score well in plain vanilla kind of testing or gamified testing. So there are hazard possibilities that these platforms capture, okay, and by capturing this data during the entire journey of the student, so they start giving the adaptive solutions to the student. Not only that, not only the prescriptive content they start telling to the student, but remedial also. Okay, so the difference is not only do they suggest, this is, Kamal, this is now what you should do, it rather culls out that content that suits me best for my future course of action, and it puts me, it gives me on the plate and I start doing. So it's a very, very optimum way to prepare for my exam so that in the shortest possible period, I have the maximum return on my time investment. So the next is autonomous intelligence. So as you know, it enables systems, computers, bots to take independent decisions, to operate independently without the intervention of human beings. And I think there was, this point was touched upon by that panel. So the example is intelligent chatbots. So what is happening there? So they're using the power of two things, machine learning and NLP, natural language processing. Okay, so with the power of these, they've made to this extent, they have made the role of the human almost redundant, because they can do a lot of stuff like answering most of our FAQs or suggesting us the course schedules. Okay. So to that extent now, the redundancy has happened through autonomous intelligence in education. So this was the hardcore academic things that I tried to touch upon, okay? But I think for a student to be successful, there are some core parallel skills also, without which I think most of us cannot do much in life. So the ladies also touched upon this in this session, and again in one of the previous sessions this was touched upon. So these skills are very, very critical to the success of a student for their careers, right? So when it comes to critical thinking, let me share a very interesting use case of ChatGPT, right? So do you know ChatGPT actually, can become our debate opponent? You put across your point of view, okay, your argument, so you get an answer which challenges your assumptions and viewpoints. Okay, then based on that, you give a superior argument and again it challenges. So the point is, it is sharpening your skills with this iterative process, and the students start becoming better and better critical thinkers. Next is problem solving. So one aspect I already touched upon when I mentioned about adaptive platforms. It is simple, like step-by-step solutions based on your preceding capability of answering questions. So various paths emerge. All of us might start from the same question, but depending upon the type of answers we have given, the journeys will be different. Okay, so it will, with the tendency of the platform resting on the AI algorithms, that it will step by step take you to higher order thinking. And then the next in this problem solving is virtual laboratories, okay? So it gives you simulated experiments and scientific processes also, so that we can practice in a controlled and safe environment. Next is collaboration. So it is very easy for AI and analytics. Okay, they can easily do the pairing. For example, you want peer learning. Okay, so it will suggest you automatic combination of students. So depending upon your requirements, if you want that the outliers should be a separate batch, regardless, you want to call out this data maybe out of millions of students and you just want to see, you want to group outliers differently, or you want outliers should be mentoring the slow movers, you know, in the class. So it can even do that. So all sorts of possibilities depending upon our requirements, it can do that, so that as a group, the outcomes, you know, are much better than otherwise where the students would be. So there was a topic that was touched upon, empathy. Of course, empathy and AI kind of, you know, it on the face of it, it appears that how could empathy be addressed with artificial intelligence? So virtual reality creates immersive simulations, okay, that require empathy. For example, cultural exchanges or even historical events. So with these, students understand different perspectives and develop empathy. So we have touched upon the hardcore academics and the core, the essential parallel skills. So all looks great so far, but then there is a scary aspect also, okay? And we keep reading in newspapers, on the net, and the lady cop also mentioned, you know, a few minutes back. So privacy, data privacy, and the biases. So see, how much data, how much information of ours is already known. I may be knowing that my wife is fond of flowers. Okay, as a next step, I may also be knowing that what kind of flower would she like on her wedding anniversary or on her birthday or on some particular special occasion. But I may not know whether it would be the yellow flower she would like or the red flower she would like. But believe you me, Facebook knows that. So that is the kind of information Facebook has about all of us. I may be thinking in my mind that the next vacation would be here and in that duration, whereas after analyzing the data of what my wife and my children have been doing in the last few weeks, Facebook already knows where we are going. So that is the kind of information, you know, internet already has about us. And we know what accidental disclosures of data, what kind of havocs have they already created at a few places. So, like a true comedian, okay, who got to have the perfect timing and what should be the power of his, or the impact of his punch. The AI is also supposed to do that, otherwise it can put us in very embarrassing situations. Right? So I think now my time is getting over, so moving on to the last slide, I would say that if teachers believe that AI is their assistant, AI is their servant, and by using AI effectively, they can actually change the lives of their students by using all this data, they can actually change the lives of their students and they can take them up step by step so that the children eventually become what they were born for. And hopefully we never get to see something like this in future. Thank you so much.
I was actually reminded of a film called Her, where a man develops a relationship with Samantha, who is an artificial intelligence virtual assistant. So thank you so much, sir. I'll now request Jyoti Kamal, Managing Editor, News18 Punjab, Haryana, to please come on the stage and felicitate our guest. Sure, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Jyoti Kamal. Moving on to the next session, Unleashing Learning Innovation, where we'll discuss the innovations and methods of teaching. Let us now listen to the students. वो AI के बारे में क्या कुछ सोचते हैं?
हम सभी जानते हैं कि AI, ML ये सब आजकल अभी एकदम से बूम कर रहा है इंडस्ट्री में, एंड इसका स्कोप हर फील्ड में इतना ज़्यादा है कि you would be seeing कि miracles would be happening in the coming future. Medical field कह लो, we can talk about military as well, health field. So in all the fields we are seeing the AI would be a great contributing factor to the society, and we would be creating a great inventions for the future.
In today's world, tools like ChatGPT and Bard have completely changed both how we learn and about how we apply what we are learning in our day-to-day life.
The future of AI will be in multiple dimensional. The one dimensional can be used in medical robots. In the second dimension can be used in the natural language processing, in the animation and gaming, in social robotics. So all these things are the future that can be correlated in the future world of the AI.
I believe that AI is going to bring about the next big revolution in all industries, and its true potential lies in its interdisciplinary applications.
I'd now like to invite Gaurav Shukla, Deputy News Editor, News18 Punjab, Haryana, to please escort the panelists on the stage. Dr. Manbir Singh, Pro Vice Chancellor, CT University. Dr. V.K. Ratan, Vice Chancellor, GNA University, Phagwada. Dr. Manbir Singh is the Pro Vice Chancellor of CT University and Managing Director of CT Group of Institutions. Dr. V.K. Ratan, the Vice Chancellor of GNA University, has over 40 years of experience in teaching, research and administration. Over to you, Gaurav.
Thank you, Harsh. Thank you very much. और इस सेशन में हम इंट्रोड्यूस AI एंकर को करने जा रहे हैं, AI कोर को, और इस सेशन में मैं ज्यादा क्वेश्चन तो नहीं पूछने वाला, मॉडरेट जरूर करूंगा. हम स्टार्ट करते हैं. AI एंकर जो पंजाबी या कहिए कि रीजनल मीडिया में ये एक नया इनिशिएटिव जो News18 पंजाब लेकर आ रहा है. हम स्टार्ट करते हैं. तो AI एंकर हमें नजर आएंगी. AI एंकर, AI कोर, go ahead. Over to you.
Thank you, Gaurav. My question to our panelists. Are colleges and universities prepared to teach AI skills to students? Every job is likely to be impacted by AI.
एंकर बोल रही है कि एवरी जॉब इम्पैक्टेड है AI, तो स्पेशली मुझे लग रहा है सबसे पहले तो ये एंकरिंग को इम्पैक्ट करने वाली है. डॉक्टर मनवी, स्टार्ट विद यू.
Sir, first of all, I think so she's here to take your job.
Yes, actually.
So please be alert, right? But I think so. A lot of schools and colleges and universities, they are going for AI, but because it's trending, but without any concrete proofs or like any base. What colleges and universities must do is they must collaborate with industrial houses, big businesses, big computer science businesses, so that they can opt for artificial intelligence in a better way. Like all the teachers who are teaching the students, they're not fully equipped. They must be doing programs like MOOCs, like Neptal, Coursera, so that they're more equipped to teach the students. So once you're equipped, it's better learning for the students. And one thing I want to say, that no job, no AI can replace any teacher.
Dr. V.K. Ratan, basically question is, are we ready, our universities, colleges are ready for AI? हम बात करते हैं कि next generation, second generation, third generation, I think in future हम बात करेंगे AI generation.
In India, most of the institutions, all IITs, NITs, even Indian Institute of Science, even private IBM, all they have started the AI-based courses. And almost in all the fields, as we were saying in the video also.
जी.
It is required. The students are also getting the awareness. So most of the universities have started AI based programs. Now how they have started, how much it has gone, that depends. Slowly we are moving, and if we see the future of education, let us say we see the 10 years beyond today what we are, then we find that AI will play a major role in all the education institutions.
I think AI anchor has so many questions. We have another one.
Okay, that's interesting. So my next question is, what is your understanding of the impact of AI in your business? Will AI-based education replace current practices?
सर अगर आप आंसर करें इसका, बेसिकली एआई कॉर कहना चाह रही है, आई होप आपने सुना होगा कि आपके बिजनेस को एआई, जो यूनिवर्सिटी कॉलेजेस का बिजनेस है, उसको किस तरह से भी इम्पैक्ट कर सकता है एआई?
एआई से जो हमारी एजुकेशन बिजनेस है, in industry, if we say industry, they will create a revolution. They can revolutionize robotics and all these things are coming in industries, so they revolutionize. In education, many things AI will help. Like we can have the administrative setup. They will help in administration. They will help in the other the data collection. AI is based on the data. The data, where we get the data, where we collect the data, and based on that data, how we are going to use that data. It can be a sort of alarming system for students. Like we are using the data, we can find from the data, we can see their strengths and weaknesses. We can analyze.
Also helping in teaching, learning.
In teaching, learning students. We can help in their analyzing the weakness and strengths, and accordingly we can ask them to learn where the student wants to go, what type of things he wants to learn. So that type of things we can get from the AI. Also AI will help in as new education policy was also discussed by one of the panelists, that in new education policy OBE education is required these days. So this AI can help to find the OBE, to implement the OBE, objective-based educations, in the colleges and universities.
Dr. Manveer, as you said earlier, ki alarming situation for anchors. I have so many questions, but all the rights to AI anchor. Another question, I hopefully कि AI anchor के जो आपके questions के answers पहुंच भी रहे हैं, तो वो भी satisfied उनसे भी होंगी. Another question from AI anchor.
Okay, that's great. Moving on, I would like to know how data and insights will play an increasing role in teaching and learning. What other innovative approaches do you see as emerging tools that you will be able to use to teach better?
Dr. Manveer.
See, as I said before, nothing can replace teachers.
Okay.
AI is here to stay. There's multiple tools of AI, like ChatGPT. A lot of students are excited to use ChatGPT, but what is that doing? That is destroying your creativity. The students' creativity is totally hampered. No one wants to do anything. They're just copying and pasting. Right? Main thing is that the teachers, what they do, one-on-one teaching, eye-to-eye contact is very important. So psychological teaching is very important. How to understand the psyche of the students. So the teacher's role is very important, plays a pivotal role when it comes to teaching. And no AI can, as I said, replace teachers.
Can replace anchors?
I don't know. If we'll ask her at the end. I will ask the audience to analyze.
Dr. V.K. Ratan, we have another question from here.
Good to know that. My next question is, what according to you are the potential risks or dangers of AI in education and everyday life?
Sir, your take on it?
dangers of AI.
Yes, yes.
Okay. As we know, everything has two aspects. It was discussed, told by ma'am also. So we have the plus points and negative points. So AI also has the negative points in what I think, and we can see there can be many points when we start thinking. So first point is that the lot of data is taken, and data analytics or for analysis, that how to find the results. There are many, lot of data is taken, I'll say. The data is collected and analyzed. Based on that analysis, we are moving ahead. So the data, it can be biased. First is it can be biased.
Okay.
If within the data, there is some biasness, and we are using that data will go on perpetuate the things. The biasness will increase.
Okay.
Right? So that can be one of the points. There
That
can
is the
be
other
ethics.
phase of this AI technology.
Yeah. Other phase I'm discussing in what I'll say. It can be biased because if we take some data, based on that data we derive some results, and that data can, if it is a biased data, already biased, we don't know. We have collected the data.
Yes.
So the data collection is very critical. The data which we are collecting, and based on that data we are going. The other is this is the data collection. Then the technology, the students, when they are adapted to this, they will be only going to this. They don't have the, as he has said, that the teacher, we cannot replace the teacher. So all the ethics, the social, that was also told by one of the ethics, the social, because we have to see the holistic development of the student also. So for that, we require many things which AI cannot fully take. AI can help in implementing those. In general, there is a saying that from the internet we can collect the data. The student can get the data, but he cannot get the knowledge. This is a general saying. So if we see into that saying, so that is the other aspect, that it will be ethics will not be there. AI will not teach ethics, right?
Dr. Manveer, you want to add
just
something?
one line I want to say here. See, artificial intelligence is an aid. It's not the replacement.
Okay.
This one-liner, everyone must understand, artificial intelligence is here to help us, guide us, analyze the things, but not for replacing the current things, right? So that's my take on that.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. AI, all done from our side. Over to you.
Thank you all for joining the Unleashing Learning Innovation session. We've explored transformative practices and technologies. Let's continue to innovate in education. On behalf of News 18, thank you and best wishes. Now may I call upon Jyoti Kamal, Managing Editor, News 18 Punjab, on the stage to felicitate our panelists.
Dr. Manveer Singh, Pro Vice Chancellor, CT University. Dr. V.K. Ratan, Vice Chancellor, GNA University, Phagwara.
Yeah, I just want to congratulate the entire team of News 18. Such programs are need of the hour, and I can see, a lot of students sitting. They must be learning something from this, and no other, not a lot of other business houses or, media houses are doing such events. So congratulate the entire team. Thank you.
Dr. V.K. Ratan, Vice Chancellor, GNA University, Phagwara. Jyoti Kamal. Thank you, Gaurav Shukla. Moving on to the next session, Classrooms to Battlefields. Let us watch an audio visual on the purpose of this discussion.
The transition from the classroom to the battlefield is a remarkable journey that shapes individuals into strong and resilient leaders. Classroom education provides the foundation, instilling knowledge, critical thinking, and teamwork skills. As they step onto the battlefield, these individuals face physical and mental challenges that push them to their limits. They learn to adapt, make tough decisions, and lead with courage. The battlefield becomes a classroom of its own, teaching them invaluable lessons through first-hand experience. Reflecting on their actions, they refine their leadership skills and grow from each encounter. This transformation from classroom to battlefield creates leaders who embody the qualities necessary to protect and serve. Their education, combined with their battlefield experiences, equips them to face any obstacle with unwavering determination and to lead with integrity.
I'd now like to invite Jyoti Kamal, Managing Editor, News18 Punjab, Haryana, to please escort the panelist on the stage, Lieutenant General Dipendra Singh Hooda. Lieutenant General Hooda is a former General Officer, Commanding-in-Chief of the Indian Army's Northern Command. He was the Northern Army Commander during the surgical strike in September 2016. Lieutenant General Hooda has been awarded the Vishisht Seva Medal twice, the Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, the Uttam Yudh Seva Medal, and the Param Vishisht Seva Medal for his exemplary service. He is also the co-founder of the Council for Strategic and Defence Research, a New Delhi-based think tank. Over to you, Jyoti Kamal.
Thank you so much, Arshi. It's not often that we have legends amongst us. General Dipendra Singh Hooda, he was the commander of the Northern Army when the Uri strikes had taken place. And that was a defining moment for the Indian Army. It had been happening earlier also. It's not as if it had not been happening. They were like smaller actions that were done, but it was a defining moment in terms of the decisive action that was taken. It was 18th of September, in fact, 2016, when there were these 4 Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists who had crossed over from the other side. They had come to this brigade headquarters. There was a changeover that was happening between the Dogra and the Bihar regiments there. There were soldiers in tented accommodation which was close to the fence of that particular area. That's when these 4 Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists, they entered that area. They lobbed incendiary ammunition, grenades, which led to 19 soldiers losing their lives. So you were in command then, you were the Northern Army commander. For any army commander to lose even a single life is obviously hugely impactful. You never want that to happen. And here you were confronted with a situation where 19 soldiers lost their lives, completely beyond control in terms of what happened. Yes, a lot of things were looked into eventually. But thereafter began this whole chain of events where you were leading from the front in terms of the decisive action that was to be taken. Things were put into place. A strategy was formulated. 10 days later, the counteroffensive took place. Special forces from the Indian side crossed over the border, went deep into enemy territory, obliterated several training camps, came back. We have heard this before, but to have a legend amongst us, we would want to hear it again. What happened? How did you kind of, what happened on that particular day, the information that came to you, and thereafter the steps that you took in immediately to kind of lead to the eventual attack that took place in Uri?
So firstly, let me start by saying thank you to News18 for inviting me here. 18 September 2016 was honestly a very, very difficult day for me as the Army Commander. News started coming in early morning that 4 terrorists have entered the camp, Uri garrison, and the first information was we have 5 soldiers killed. An hour later, it was 10 soldiers killed. An hour later, it was 15 soldiers killed. And it became sometimes you dread a telephone call coming to you and telling you what's happening. Finally, by the time the operation ended and the terrorists were killed, we had 19 soldiers dead. It was the single biggest casualty in a single operation in the last 20 years. And it really hit us badly. That evening, the Army Chief and I went to Uri garrison, as you were saying that, tented accommodation was there, everything was burned down. We were walking in something like 6 inches of ash of burnt tents. But I think very quickly we decided that, this action cannot go without a strong response from the Indian side. And so very quickly it was decided that, look, we need to do something, we need to respond, and we need to respond strongly. As you mentioned, it's not as if operations had not taken place earlier. The difference was that, as I said, the message must go out that if you are going to come and do something on the Indian side, we will respond on Pakistani soil across the line of control. And then, of course, the main thing sort of running in our minds was how much risk should you take? After all, you're crossing what is the most heavily defended border in the world. The India-Pakistan line of control is possibly the most heavily defended border anywhere in the world. And we had to cross over the Pakistani forward defenses, go behind, go to the terrorist camps, attack them, and come back. But what is the objective? If the objective is that we needed to send a strong message, then obviously it couldn't be just doing one odd strike and coming back. So we planned 5 operations, all to go in on the night of 28-29 September. We had hundreds of soldiers across into Pakistan territory. 5 targets were hit, all on the same night. The first target was hit at about midnight. The last target was hit at 6 in the morning. So there was actually a 6-hour difference between the first and the last target. And sometimes people ask, did you really need to take so much risk in doing this? And my answer is, we were confident. The soldiers were extremely well trained, the special forces soldiers. They were very confident that they would go ahead, carry out the operation, and come back successfully. And indeed, that is what happened. Somebody asked me, what was your feeling after all the soldiers had come back safely? And my answer is, it was a sense of relief that everybody has come back alive. There are no injuries. The sole sense of triumph that we've done such a great thing, comes later. The first thing is that our soldiers are back and they're all safe and secure. So I think it was a complex operation. Who's to be credited with the success? It's those people who went across the border. They put their lives on line, the soldiers and the men. And if you ask me, a lot of times I'm told, General Huda planned the surgical strike, but the real heroes are those people who went across the border, carried out the operation, and came back.
So you're right, they are the real heroes in terms of the action that they took. But there's no organization which requires you to take such strong decisions like the Indian Army, where you're actually, that probably you could be sending men to their death. That probably they would die. The soldiers who are moving probably know that they wouldn't come back alive. So it's unlike any other organization, the biggest corporates, the biggest kind of other organizations where you might be taking the most kind of profound financial decisions. But when you ask a man to kind of be putting, that he'll probably be putting his life at risk, it's a big decision to take. You commanded the Northern Army at that point in time. For all of us who probably wouldn't have a fair idea, there are 5 commands in the Indian Army. Now there are additional commands that have also come up. But traditionally, these are like the largest possible striking force is a command, which is an army. So General Huda was commanding the Northern Army. But this process of decision taking, while of course, as you move up in hierarchy in the army, you gradually learn to kind of handle it from a lieutenant to a captain to a major to a lieutenant colonel, colonel, brigadier, major general, lieutenant general. You figure out how this whole system works. But those decisions that you have to take at that point in time, it requires that ability to kind of understand that overall situation. Why I'm asking you this is because there are multiple variables which you have to factor in. And that's where we'll eventually come to the use of advanced technologies in the battlefield now. On how do you assist a general officer in being able to take decisions. But to take that decision is obviously something which requires a whole lot of experience and expertise. How does that decision-taking process work in the Army?
Look, I think it works fairly automatically. If your objectives are clear, that this is what your objective is, this is what your aim is, and once you're clear, then you go about how am I going to execute my plan, how am I going to execute my objective. And everything sort of follows. Yes, you need to gain information, you need to make sure that your soldiers are safe, you need to make sure you're not taking unnecessary chances with the lives of people. But once there is clarity of objectives, once it is clear that this is what is in national interest, then that decision has to be taken. Let me also say, you talked about soldiers risking their lives, etc. What is one fundamental feature of the military ethos? What is one fundamental aspect of military culture? It is what we talk about, the ethos of unlimited liability. What does it mean? It means there is nothing that you will not do in the performance of your duty. You can go to any extent in the performance of your duty, including the laying down of your lives. That is what is meant by unlimited liability. And I think it's this feature and this ethic of military life which also assists us in our decision making. That we know, yes, we are putting people in danger, lives in danger, but the soldier understands this is what his job is and he is willing to do it.
Immediately after the attack had taken place, you had kind of started planning the response that the Indian Army would deliver to the other side. And in fact, that plan was put into place within 2-3 days. After which then obviously it moves through its escalation right to the army chief and then to the political leadership. The political leadership will finally give the go-ahead that the operation has to take place. The army chief will then kind of transfer command to you, and then you will be the one who would be leading this entire operation. You were supposed to actually kind of go in on 27th, but you delayed it by a day. So what led to kind of that delay that took place, and how did you maintain that complete secrecy of this operation?
So very few people actually knew about it. We didn't want to, tell a lot of people that this is what is being planned. You're from the media. Let me tell you, there was so much criticism coming from the media. What is the army doing? An attack has taken place at Uri Garrison. Why is the soldiers not prepared, etc., etc. And we just kept absorbing that kind of criticism, kept taking it. Our planning had begun the next day, but we obviously didn't want any information to sort of leak out. So it was a very small group of people who planned this operation. In fact, I remember the day after the attack took place, even about 90% of people in my headquarters were completely surprised that such an operation has taken place. So it was a small sort of planning group. Me and a few people in the headquarters, then of course the military operations directorate, the army chief, and the political leadership. To be fair, the political leadership gave us the directions that we required. They gave the go-ahead. And they didn't at all interfere in the detailed planning. They didn't say, we want you to do it like this, or they left it to us. Why was there a delay of one day? It was purely for some internal reason that we decided, let's not do this today. Some more time was required for planning and preparation. There was one target in which information started coming in, so we had gathered all the information about the targets. But a day prior to the attack, some information started coming in that probably this area has been reinforced, some more soldiers or terrorists have come into that area. So we just wanted a little more information before we sent in our people. So that was one reason why there was a delay of a day.
To actually send soldiers from the Indian side onto the Pakistani side, crossing the border, crossing the line of control, and then actually crossing the barrier put up by the Rangers and then the Pakistani army, and then to reach those terror camps, and then to actually kind of unleash your operation there over a period of 5 hours, and then make your way back to exfiltrate from there and come back to the Indian side. So during this time, you know that anything can go wrong, because howsoever much you may kind of control, plan, everything, the variables are probably too many. So were you like really nervous as you were watching this entire operation unfold in front of you, as you were getting this constant video feed and other kind of inputs coming to you?
So frankly, not really nervous. I mean, as they say, you know, once the operation is launched, it's really out of your hands. You may be like a big commander sitting there, but the fact is, once soldiers have gone across, they will do what they have to do. They have trained, they have prepared for it. So for you to start getting nervous at this stage...
Sorry, sir, sorry to interrupt you, but it's not as if you would be giving real-time commands. It wouldn't be like that you would give real-time commands that move forward, do this or do that. You wouldn't be doing that.
No. So once, as I said, it's like, you know, once the bullet is fired from the gun, there is nothing you can do to change this direction. It's gone. So you pull the trigger. We have pulled the trigger by sending people across. Now it was for them to do what they had to do. And as I said, we were confident. We had various contingencies in place. If some group gets into trouble, what are we going to do? We had planned then that we'd probably send in a sort of a rescue party, again a risky operation, but those contingencies were all in place. I recall, so I told you there was about a 6-hour difference between the first and the last attack that took place. So after the first few attacks took place and people returned safely, I asked the commanding officer, who was to do the last 2 attacks which were to go in at 6 in the morning. I said, why don't you hurry it up a little if your people are in place? He said, sir, planning is done, everything is done, don't interfere now with my operation. And so I said, yes, please go ahead and do as you plan. So as I said, you have to have confidence in your people, have to have confidence in your soldiers who've gone across. And as I said, I don't think there is a group of soldiers anywhere in the world which is as well trained as our special forces. If there is anything missing, I will say probably the American Special Forces have better equipment. But as far as motivation levels, training levels are concerned, I think our soldiers are among the best.
General Huda, warfare and technology go hand in hand. The Second World War was a major kind of propulsion force for a lot of technology to be developed, including the atomic weapons. Even now, there is this constant demand from the army for more and more sophisticated technology to be available, because the more information that you have, the greater advantage you have. So as you see technology kind of advancing, do you feel that the Indian Army is also being able to keep pace with absolute latest state-of-the-art technology, including artificial intelligence? Now, why AI comes into the Army's domain is also because using sensors, using computer vision, using all sorts of ability to actually be able to make sense of the information that's coming in. You have multiple sources of information coming, to be able to somehow filter it so that you get actionable intelligence. So there, AI and these tools are helping to give you actionable intelligence. What are you seeing? What numbers are you seeing? What is the possible action that can be taken? When can it be taken? What would the weather conditions be like? So all of that. So when you see all of that happening, do you feel we are keeping pace? Are you seeing that level of technological competence coming in? And how do you see man and machine relating to each other?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I think technology is something that has shaped the character of warfare through generations. Start from cannons versus elephants, start from the longbow versus the sword, tank versus infantry. Technology is constantly shaped and changed warfare. And we've had so much discussion today on artificial intelligence, and that's the next big thing, frankly. As you said, in decision making, in integrating information, you have thousands of sensors along the line of control, along the borders. How is that information coming in? How is it getting synthesized? Is it going to the right person? Is it helping you in making decisions and command control? A lot of application of AI now also in the cyber warfare domain. So technology is extremely, extremely important. Where are we in the Indian military as far as technology adoption is concerned? I'm afraid we started late. I mean, I need to be honest. We started a little late in technology adoption in the Indian military. But slowly now we are seeing, we are picking up, so both at the national level and at the military level, you are finding greater absorption of technology. So you have missions for artificial intelligence. The government has recently launched a national quantum mission with a budget of about 6,000 crores. So as these things come, their absorption is also happening in the Indian military.
The Defense Artificial Intelligence Project Agency has also now been created, which is kind of building multiple technologies like storm drones and all other kinds of technology integration, which is front-end weapons as also back-end technologies. But the Indian Army actually has a system of education at almost every level. It's not as if you can join the army and straight away move to the senior most ranks. You have to go through various education courses. You have to kind of pass courses. You have to prepare, even as you're a colonel, you have to kind of prepare for your Defense Services Staff College. Then you have to do your senior command, higher command. So it's not as if you would straight away kind of move to the senior most ranks once you join the army. Unlike sometimes there is this criticism when we compare it with the civil services, where once you clear the UPSC, you'll probably move through to the topmost ranks based on the time that you've spent in the army. You have to clear examinations. So when you see this whole process of education, and you see the kind of new technologies that are now emerging, and you see the whole structure of the Indian Army, right from officers down to soldiers, and how training and education will need to be imparted across this spectrum. So do you see a big challenge there in terms of how technology is advancing, this whole challenge of being able to educate right across the level to be able to utilize the technology? Do you see a certain challenge and a gap there?
See, I think there is always a challenge as new technologies come in, how they're going to be absorbed in your education and training methodology. So that's always a bit of a challenge. But let me also say, and perhaps it's not very well known, the army has, the Indian military has a very structured education system. It's called professional military education. I myself must have done about a dozen courses. 3 of those courses were actually 1 year long. So that's how long the army lets you get away for your education, for your training. So it's a very structured system, and it's meant, and my apologies to the educationists and the academicians who might be here, the focus of the education, or we call it training, in the military is to prepare you for real world situations that are likely to arise. And if you ask me, do I have one word of advice? It is in our academics, in our colleges, in our institutions, our education must be geared towards preparing people for what they're going to face in the future, and not mere sort of theoretical kind of teaching. I meet a lot of people in the industry, and they say, look, we have people who are educated, but somehow they are not employable. So what we need to do, I think, is also structure our education in a way that people are prepared for the situation that they are likely to face in the future.
General, just after the Uri counteroffensive, 2 months down the line, you retired from the army 2 months after the Uri counteroffensive had taken place. That probably must have been the high point of your career, unless there is something else that was. But in any case, we want to know of a couple of other high points that have happened in your career, other than the Uri counteroffensive, that you recall as a top army officer.
No, look, there are so many things that you go through, 40 years in service, and many challenges that you come across. You heard, earlier to how various operations and people have participated in that. If you ask me, so rather than saying high points, let me say some very challenging moments. And one that I recall was the 2005 earthquake that happened in Uri. Incidentally, I commanded the Uri brigade in the same garrison which was attacked in 2016. And I still recall the date, 8 September 2005, when this earthquake struck Uri. Everything was smashed. I mean, it's like you go, within 30 seconds, everything that you are seeing around you has completely crashed. We had something like 160 buildings in the Uri garrison. Out of 160, 155 completely collapsed. The Uri market was on fire within seconds. Roads were blocked. Everything was, communications were down. On our posts, bunkers had collapsed. People were trapped underneath it. Those days, I think, and how we got around it, to me was, if you ask me, really, really sort of challenging times that I've gone through.
In fact, we'd also come to Uri, and that was the first time that I managed to kind of get to sit in a military helicopter. It was an Mi-8 helicopter where it kind of flew through the valleys as it was going towards Uri. Sir, the defense, the defense kind of tenure that you spent as a career, a lot of army officers say that given a second chance, there's nothing better that I would want to do. I mean, the kind of exposure that you get in the army. What has your take been on the time that you spent in the army and as a profession, as a career, and something that you would like to tell the next generation in terms of what should they look forward to when they look to the Indian Army as a career?
So I think it's been a life. So I put on the uniform first time when I was 16 years old, when I joined the NDA. That's the time I put on my uniform, and I removed it when I was 60 years old. So literally that uniform becomes like a second skin to you. And it brings with it enormous values. I mean, what you see in the military life. We use words like integrity, honor, comradeship, loyalty. For us in the military, these are not sort of empty words. These are absolutely essential values that you need to have if the military is to function. The military cannot function if there is no comradeship, if there is no loyalty, if there is no honor. And so for us, these are absolutely essential, must-have qualities for the organization to function. And I think these have shaped me. If I look at myself today, although I'm out of uniform, if I look at myself today, it's these qualities and these values, I think, that have really shaped me. So for those of you who are keen to make the military a career, please understand, one, these are the values that you will have to imbibe. Please understand that there are sacrifices to be made. I talked about this whole concept of unlimited liability. Sacrifices not only that you have to make, but sacrifices that your families have to make. My wife is sitting here, and I know how she alone has brought up children and kept the family together when I was not there. So if you're willing to do all that, if you have the Josh and Jazba, youngsters, the army will really, really welcome you. And let me tell you, the military also promises that it will take care of you. If something happens to you, something happens in the course of your duty, it is the responsibility of the military, it's the responsibility of the nation that they will look after you, and they have done that.
Clearly, sir, because even as we speak right now, right across our border, which is a huge border that we have, there are soldiers strung right across the border, making sure that we stay safe. And thank you, sir, for having kind of been a part of that force that makes us feel safe in this country. Thank you, General Huda, for participating in this News 18 event. It's our honor that you could take time out, sir. Thank you so much.
To felicitate our guest.
Wonderful conversation, sir. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Jyoti Kamal, please stay back. Without our partners, this event would not have been possible. Now we'd like to give a token of appreciation to our partners. I invite Dr. Padma Kumar Nair, Director, Thapar Institute of Engineering and Technology, Patiala. Thank you so much, sir. I invite Dr. V.K. Ratan, Vice Chancellor, GNA University, Phagwada. Thank you so much, sir. Now I invite Mr. Shubham, HR Manager on behalf of Maninderjeet Singh, MD, Travel Tip, our travel partner. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Jyoti Kamal. With this, we'd like to thank Thapar Institute of Engineering and Technology, Patiala, Reliance Industries Limited, Associate Partner, World Immigration Network and Baba Freed Group of Institutions, Bathinda, CT University, Ludhiana, GNA University, Fagwada, Digital Learning Partner, TCY Online, Travel Partner, Travel Tip, and Overseas Partner, ESS Global. And I thank our wonderful audience on behalf of News 18 Punjab, Haryana for joining us here till we meet again.